You ready, Kelly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the York County Board of Commissioners to order, please, and I'd ask everybody to rise. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, welcome to the York County Board of Commissioners for April 18th. Roll call, please.
Brooks.
Present.
Fair.
Here.
Ziegler.
Present.
Sykes.
Present.
Overmar.
Present. Open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers, is in the hallway outside of our chambers. It is also on our website. Proof of publication was in the News Times April 13th and also on the website. First off, we need to review and approve the minutes of our April 4th Board of Commissioners meeting, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Overmar.
Yes, adopt today's agenda.
I move to accept today's agenda.
Thank you,
Yes,
Stan.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Fair.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Overmar.
Yes, officials forum. We have some here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Harv.
Morning.
Still doing our job. We're still hauling gravel, we're blading, maintaining roads. We're doing mastic and crack sealing yet. We're probably gonna run out of the mastic material either today or tomorrow. Then those machines can go back and that takes the pressure off of that. Then we will finish crack sealing the ones that we have routed. Bridges, the bridge on Road 20 up there, they have the east abutment poured, they have both piers poured. They were driving pile on the west abutment yesterday. They will form that up. I would anticipate by the end of the week or the very first of next that they will pour that abutment, and then they will start getting ready to get their false work in to support the forms for pouring the deck on that bridge. The one on Road O down there, they have all the abutments poured. They have the false work all in. They was getting ready to start putting plywood down for the forming of the deck. I believe Thursday they was bringing in the metal crew to do the tying the rebars all in and getting that ready. Anticipating pouring that deck on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday of next week is what they was talking yesterday when I was down there. Road 2, the bridge is out. The form of the sheet of the box is all driven. They was excavating down to where they could then put in their rebar. They was talking of pouring that either the end of this week or the first of next week for the floor of that one. So that's going forward quite well. Anyhow, that is kind of where we are with what's going on in the road department.
And then once they get done with two, are they working with two crews or gonna jump to the other one then?
They will jump to the other one when they get this one done.
Okay.
And what their plan was when we had the pre-con meeting is pour the floor, then they're gonna form up the walls and the deck at the same time, pour it all as one unit is what they was planning to do. So that will make that go fairly quickly there, but they're making good headway down
Good.
there.
Good.
So,
Any other questions of Harv this morning?
This morning, yes. At
Thanks,
this point,
Harv.
anyway.
thank you.
Any other officials? I know we have different things on the agenda. Lori?
Lori Byers, York County Public Transit. Just wanted to give you a quick update that we had Barb from Four Corners out to give us training on the Narcan so that we could place it in all of our public transit vehicles. And so she came out during our training with all of our transit drivers and did that for us. And so we've got 4 2-pack doses, so we can put those into 4 vehicles.
Okay.
So just wanted to let you know about that.
Thank you, Lori. Any other officials this morning? Okay, now we'll move on to public comment. At this point in time, you may step forward and give a comment if you wish for a couple minutes. Morning.
Morning, Willard Peterson, 514 Road 13, York, Nebraska, 68467, but I'm a resident of Bradshaw. Just a comment about your upcoming discussion about a zoning administrator or whatever. It kind of seems to me like no matter what the title of this person, I've heard some, you talked before about something about having a lawyer or somebody else or whatever. I think for the first while, since you're having to go through eventually the entire zoning thing, it would seem to me like it would be better to have a person that was their job right now, not that they had other duties for something else, because in my opinion, it's gonna take some doing. So, I heard you talking before about, somebody adding that on to a position, and personally, I just don't think that's a good idea for a while until everything gets kind of sorted out and whatever. And also the other thing is the expediency of getting some of this done. If they're getting split too many ways, then that's not gonna help get that done quicker.
Thanks, Willard. Anybody else from the public at this point in time? Seeing none, we'll move on. There is no executive session that I'm aware of needed this morning or today. There is no general assistance cases. Typically, next up, we would do approving payroll and vendor claims, but before that, because there's a vendor claim in there that will put us over, I would like to take care of that resolution first. We have a normal transfer every year of $25,000 into our reappraisal fund, and that is our Fund 1100, and if we pay the bill that's in there today, that would put that fund about that amount short. So we need to make that $25,000 transfer into that fund, first, or at least have that discussion to put it into that fund first, so we can, and that needs to be done by a resolution so that we can pay that bill today. Any questions regarding that? And that was a budgeted.
Right,
It's
yeah.
one of our budgeted transfers. We just typically put those off till the end of the year.
And it comes from the general to the reappraisal fund.
I would make a motion that we adopt a resolution to transfer 25,000 from general fund to the reappraisal fund.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Openmeyer.
Yes. Okay, then we will take up the payroll and vendor claims that are in front of us today.
Added claims.
We will have an added claim also. And then we will have an explanation of a claim. So the added claim, first off, and I'm gonna ask Josh or Paul and/or Paul step forward. Vehicles for the patrol, there is a budgeted vehicle. There was actually 2 budgeted vehicles this year. One that would come out of their general fund, one would come out of the drug forfeiture money fund. And as I'm sure they'll tell you, those vehicles are hard to get. We've been on a waiting list. We are getting close to our budget year, and apparently somebody backed out of one here just very recently So we have an opportunity to go ahead and get one of those vehicles. This would be a K-9 vehicle, and the money raised by our community and elsewhere to, after our K-9 was lost, the majority of that money, which is $27,408, would help to go to this.
That's correct. Yes.
And so guys, if you got anything else to add, that you would like to add on this.
Josh was talking to us, a representative from Ford yesterday, and we were fortunate enough to find a unit that somebody purchased and then backed out of. So we would definitely want to purchase that unit to replace our one K-9 unit that's, I think it's a 2018, and it's miled out. And we're starting to have some maintenance issues with it right now. So we definitely would like to get this one since it's available. And I've talked to a lot of the sheriffs here in the last couple of months, and they're having trouble finding patrol cars right now, which it's the same with the public too right now too, so.
This is a new vehicle.
Yes.
This is a 2022 Ford Police Interceptor, all-wheel drive. Overall cost for the vehicle alone, we'll have to have some
Outfit, yeah.
outfit it with everything. It's $38,989. That of which $27,408 will be, once again, that money that was donated for the K-9, and then $11,581 that was the rest. It still comes out of their budget. We'll just split it between two line items.
Just to give you guys a heads up with supply issues, we ordered the vehicles that we were looking at back in July of last year, and they still have not gotten to the floor to be built. They have not been assigned VIN numbers yet, so we're looking at a full year out on police vehicles at this point. So it's gonna take at least a year. Now, just, it's changed. It used to be a 90-day window that they would guarantee delivery. Now we're looking at closer to a year to get one built. So we just have to pre-plan in the future.
And we will still have vehicles on order.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so that's an additional one. Secondly, we have an amount of $3,434. Now, this is an amount that is a fuel, motor fuel combined reporting tax. So this is fuel that actually tax that gets paid ACH. So it's an automatic deal. This has already been paid. This is a mistake that we became aware of, that is something that gets paid automatically and hasn't been coming in front of us as it should. So we feel like we should obviously ask for this to be approved. It's already been paid. And then in the future, we'll have to have these in front of us to get approved before that transfer is made. It's just one of those that has fell through the cracks,
Sure.
unfortunately, for a lot of years. So I guess that's what we're asking for today. The money is not in here, but it's $3,434 that was already paid. First part of April 7th. So those are the additional ones for approval.
Just to, a little more information, Josh and I did have a conversation yesterday on the vehicle, and discussed whether or not we wanted to bring it in as a additional claim today or wait through and put it through as a regular claim later. I felt that based on the supply issues that we've had, and this is a vehicle that is currently available, that it made sense to go ahead and put it on an additional claim and go ahead and move forward with that transaction, so.
Then you'll be removing the one vehicle that you're talking, that you said there's some
That's correct,
difficulties
yes.
with.
Another one that I'd like to draw your attention to would be in the 610, which is data processing. It's $10,109.31 for Carbonite. Carbonite is our backup, that our whole courthouse and roads department, everybody uses as the backup. That's a 3-year contract that came due shortly after the 1st of April, I believe. And we had done the 3-year in the past. We get a 10% discount if we do a 3-year contract with them. So that one there is It's just something we've done in the past. We need it. We feel like we've got adequate space now for the future. But if we ever have to, we can always add to it, you know,
Sure.
midterm or whatever that is. But, so that is what that number is there.
Fairly, I mean, there were a lot of claims. There were some that I did have question on, and I talked to each of the responsible
Okay.
department heads and got clarification on all of them, so.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on anything?
I would make a motion that we approve the payroll and vendor claims with the added claim for the sheriff vehicle and making note of the ACH of $3,434.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'll second that.
Thank
Is there a
you.
recognition of the donation from the community for that 27,000 that has been raised for the canine thing? Do we acknowledge that somehow, that was produced for?
Go ahead,
as a
Paul.
community thing?
After we received it, I did send out thank you cards to all the donors. And then you also thanked Adopt-A-Pet too, they kind of ramrodded that because they're the ones that started that fund. So, I mean, a lot of people were notified by a thank you card from the sheriff's office.
And we definitely do appreciate the generosity of the community. And Adopt-A-Pet obviously took in a lot of anonymous donations that we weren't able to thank the people that did give. And if somebody's watching or hearing this, thank you for what you guys did, because it really allows us to continue the canine program. We have a better canine program than we've had in multiple years, and our guys really appreciate that, so.
Melanie will probably have a paragraph or two about it in the paper.
Well, and if memory serves me correct, that this money came in to replace a dog, and then somebody stepped up and replaced the dog on their own. So, I mean, the community, and when we had the event out here in the courtyard, the community showed up great for what happened. So, and this, you know, quite frankly, this is something that our auditor wanted to see us get, you know, because this is set aside. We had to maintain it and watch it, so it didn't get spent on anything else. So this is a perfect place to spend it. That's going on.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, so we have our motion and second. Anything else, guys? Roll call, please, then.
Brooks,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Overmark.
Yes, thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay, next up, we got to discuss an act on a grant application for York 4-H Club for improvements for the playground using York County Improvement Funds. All those that would like to step forward. Bob, you know the drill. The two ladies
Morning.
with you, just if we can get names for who's going to speak, please.
Bob Sutter, York County Visitors Bureau. Amy Pohl.
Dana Hall.
Thank you.
Dana Hall. We had an application come before us last month from 4-H clubs on behalf of York County 4-H Council and Fairgrounds for improvements to the fairground equipment at the York County Fairgrounds. After discussion, we have a unanimous vote to recommend approval to the commissioners for that. And I think hopefully you all got copies of that.
It's in the packet.
in the packet.
Perfect. Amy, is there anything you'd like to explain about the project?
12 years ago, our club, I'm leader of the Lively Livestock 4-H Club in Benedict. I was a 4-H member myself, and I've been a leader for 15 years. And 12 years ago, our club raised a little over $3,000 and put the current playground that sits just west of the sheep and goat barn, right south of the Cornerstone Ag and Event Center. And at the beginning, we did it just basically all of our kids were younger, a great place, great resource for the kids from different clubs to get together and play. Never dreaming that it would be so well loved and that it would get used year round, or anytime anyone used the Cornerstone building, anytime anyone rents the fairgrounds for livestock shows, family reunions in the summer. Not to mention the people that live in the north part of York go up and use it. And it has seen its better days. It needs to come down, and our club wanted to replace it with something more stable, and we asked Dana, who is the leader at McCool, McClover Junction, and Kara Perdue, who is leader of High Point Club, Casey Tonages, who is leader of Gresham Livestock, and Lana Hofschneider, who is leader of Waco Livestock, to all come on board for the 150th anniversary of the York County Fair this year. And all of our clubs come together. 4-H motto is learning by doing, and teaching our kids to give back to our community in our 4-H pledge, using our hands to larger service, teaching our children to all come together, coming together as club leaders, as former 4-H alumni, to put a more permanent structure there. And it has been very well received. We had a pancake feed, and our two clubs, our club put in $3,000 to start, to kick it off. Dana's club matched us with $3,000. So right off the bat, our clubs, 4-H clubs, donated that. We also reached out to the Henderson area. They do not have an active club anymore, but the Ott family came and helped and has been helping with this. And during our pancake feed fundraiser, we got a lovely card from the family, the last family that had the county liners in the Exeter area. They no longer have a club, but they donated the money they had from their club to this project because everybody thought it was a great way for the kids to come together and do something positive for everyone. Dana, go ahead.
Yeah, for the pancake feed, between our donations and other donations that we had got, we raised around $15,000, and so we had a pretty good chunk of what we need for that. It was a really awesome opportunity because not only was the current 4-Hers there, but also like people that we showed with and their parents or our parents and stuff like that. And so there's many generations there that were coming together to support this project. So it was a nice way to, I guess, get it kick-started to see what we could raise. So we're asking for some help on some of the rest of it, to see how much maybe we'd have to fundraise yet, or if you guys are willing to make a donation towards it. And like Amy said, not only does this get used during the fair, but all year round. I mean, I've been at weddings or shows during the year and it's being used, or you just drive by there and there's kids playing on it. I know when my babies were little and we would stop there, we just needed a break while we were in town. The older ones could go play for a second while I tended to changing and that sort of thing. And so I think it gets used more than anybody ever really expected it to. So it's time to get something there a little bit more permanent that can stay there for the years to come. So.
And the playground company, we're going with Creative Sites, the Burke Playground System, which is actually the same company. So the playground that was moved to the community center that was at Minks, it's that same playground system, same company. We also, there was almost $3,000 in freight to ship it. We've had a 4-H family that has offered their semi, and they're going 70 miles northwest of Milwaukee when we order it, and they're going to pick it up and save us that $3,000 in freight and haul it back to the fairgrounds. So we will not have to do that, pay for all that freight, which is a huge, that's included in that 15,000 also, that donation. You guys have questions for us?
This will include a base underneath it then?
So this cost will include, we looked into, and I've been working with the Fair Board, the Ag Society. We have rules for proper how many feet out. There will be timbers that are up high enough, and for the there's two different structures in there. One's a smaller toddler structure, and the other one is for older children. The toddler structure has to have 6-inch packed mulch for the fall factor, and the larger structure has to have 9 inches of packed mulch, and I've been working with the Fair Board, so that cost does include getting the border around it and the mulch in there, so, or the, whatever we end up for sure going with.
So as Bob said before, the Visitors Bureau did look at this project, even though there's just the two ladies with us today. The day we had it in front of us at 7 o'clock in the morning, they packed the room, and they didn't surround us, but at least they brought some of the students and different things like that in there too. We felt unanimous that it was a good project. As they stated, you see people on it all the time. And this is an area up there too, where not only does Amy, I believe your family has a memorial bench up there, but we were part of a bench program here also for the anniversary of our county, and one of our benches for, I don't know which community is sitting there, but we have a bench right there also, so it makes it a neat little area for people to use. So it was unanimous to give them the 15. Obviously, this board can decide to give whatever they want.
One question, so let's see, the estimated, the 30,000, that's including the, like you said, the base or whatever.
Yes.
I was just looking at the quote here. The quote that was put in front of us does not include the base stuff, correct?
Right.
That's just the program,
Right.
playground equipment.
The equipment, that's nothing else.
Sure.
And I should clarify that installation of it was going to be thousands of dollars,
Sure.
but we have some very capable parents, dads, older 4-H kids who are going to put it in. They send, Julie will come out and make sure it's all done to spec, and it's all for liability reasons from Creative Sites, from the Burke Playground System. And we have a group of 4-H dads and older 4-Hers that will put it in. So that will save a lot of money.
Several thousand too.
Yeah.
Right.
So, because the whole point of 4-H is learning by doing and teaching kids to do and to give back. And so that's why we decided to come together and do this.
And the kids were very excited about working together with everybody from all the other clubs and helping do something. They were, I mean, it was a pretty cool opportunity for them to, I mean, a lot of times they're competing against each other, but on this, they were helping each other and making something great, so.
Any other questions?
There was one question that had been posed. With this piece, is there or was there any look into for handicapped accessible play in this
Okay,
piece?
I'll give one thing and then I'm gonna let Dana elaborate because
Sure.
she, we did have one person ask us, regarding that. We are 4-H moms and leaders, trying to do something good with a small group. There is room in the future if these people want to spearhead something and bring it in front of the Ag Society and all of you. That opens a whole nother can of worms with pouring, and there's not a huge space there. And personally, we just spent millions on a wonderful, all-inclusive playground that's not too many blocks away that, go ahead.
I think there's always opportunity in the future. We wanted to get something up, like our time frame was pretty tight by the time we had this idea of like, hey, the Fair Board said this structure we have is well loved and needs to probably come down, and we're like, we need to have something there for the 150th. So it's not that we don't want to have something inclusive, it's just like the time frame that we had and the money that we needed to even get this done. We didn't know that we had enough time to get a lot more, because when we talked to them about starting to add on extra pieces for that, then it was just adding a lot to it. So I think that, you know, looking to the future, if we get this one up here in the next few months, so it's there for the 150th fair, because August is just around the corner, then I think that that's something that we could say, okay, now what can we do to add on to this and extend our border? And I think that we had no idea like how well received the initial fundraiser would be and all that, and where we would go from there. And the timeline scared us a little bit on adding too much more to it to get it done, so.
Because then you're looking at pouring concrete or a hard structure to get to it, accessibility, and, so I think in the future, if someone wants to look into that more, address that, that could be addressed.
Sure.
It's not that we're opposed to it by any means.
Right, definitely. Yep.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Do we, the quote, have you gotten a quote, I guess, for, the base, and do you have a rough estimate on what that
Well,
will cost? Or?
yeah, we've gotten a few different, but it depends on how deep we end up going, because
sure.
Julie now said that we have to have 12 inches of mulch brought in. It will pack down to 9 inches
right.
around the
Yep.
larger structure. And we're still going to be working with the Ag Society to see if possibly they get a semi-load, truckload of mulch for the barn, the cattle barn during the fair. Could we possibly get it through that company would be cheaper than going through, say, going to a nursery and ordering so many cubic
Sure.
yards of mulch. So, and if we end up, you know, getting other outside donations, I don't know that we will, or anything extra, we would like to add, we also, back when we did this the second year, we added round picnic tables around the trees that sit there. Our club did that also 11 years ago. We removed a couple because of safety, they were rotted, and there's still one there, but we would like to add back some picnic area, you know, seating so that people could actually have a picnic or sit up there. And so
I also submitted a $500 grant to the Governor's Excellence Award, NIFA grant. So we don't know on that till late, so
Sure.
that funds can help with that picnic table and things like that too, if we need to do that. Or possibly the inclusive addition.
Sure.
So the funds that we would do, we obviously just pay off bills. You know, we just don't cut them a check of the 15 grand, so we pay off the bills they turn into us, and that would be, if we decide to fund this at the full amount that was recommended by the visitors, would be 15,000, they could spend up to that. And I suppose they could always ask for more, but that's all, you know, they would get out.
Right.
The rest of the resources they have to figure out, you know, on their own affair. Any other?
So you're looking for a motion?
Looking for a motion.
I move we approve the visitors grant funds to go to the 4-H fund zone and proceed.
In the
Thank you
amount
so
of,
much.
15,000.
thank you, Woody.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Any other discussion?
One question of Bob. Obviously, the Visitors Bureau voted to approve this, and managing the funds and everything, you feel that we're covered, this is a good amount that will be set in good?
Yes,
At that
right
amount.
now, we are sitting with about 300,000 in the improvement fund. Receipts have been coming in well above what we even had last year, which was a record year. We still have 100,000 left on the Peyton Parker Lane playground, which will go out, I think, in August, if I remember right. And Playhouse has a grant over a 2-year period for 25. Village of Gratium Park Pavilion for 15,000. And York University for 50 over a 2-year period. We just paid out 25 on the university, so yes, we should be able to cover this without any problem.
Very good, thanks.
Any other? Roll call.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
oh,
Yes. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you guys very, very much. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate it so much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
If the timing were a little different, you could just recycle the bedding and the Taliban in there.
Did have a little time to air out.
I was going to ask the same thing, but I'm sure that would work.
Okay, at 9:05, we are just a little bit behind our 9 o'clock public hearing, so at this time, Lori, would you like to come forward? We do have a public hearing for York Public Transportation for the purpose of considering a project for which financial assistance is being sought from Federal Transit Administration pursuant to the Federal Transit Act, the FTA. That publication was in the News Times, March 28th, or is that right? March 28th?
I think it was the 18th. Or was it 18th?
Today's the 8th.
It would have been 2 dates that was in there.
March 28th and April 11th. Sorry, I missed the other one.
Good
Go
morning.
ahead, Lori.
This is it used to be an annual basis that we would request a budget and have an opportunity to make changes to fares and the area that we covered with public transportation. Now it's moved to a two fiscal year basis, and so this would be for the fiscal year 2023 through 2025. So 23, 24, and 24, and 25. So, I think I gave you a copy of the proposed policy and the, budget that we would be submitting to NDOT time before last, to look at, and so now is just a time for the hearing. If anybody had any comments on it, we have had no one come to our office to look at said material, so.
Okay. So at this point in time, we are in a public hearing, and the public hearing is open. Anybody who would like to step forward and speak for or against this may do so at this time. And these are the numbers. Nothing has changed, obviously, since we went over them the last time that we talked about it.
I booked them up there.
Yes, Willard.
Willard Peterson, 514 Road 13, York, Nebraska, 68467, but I'm a resident of Bradshaw. Thank you very much. It kind of seems to me like, we've talked in a lot of other meetings and so forth. Oh, and by the way, I do have a position, but I'm not gonna throw that weight around, so get over it. But we've talked about this before. Federal money and state money is a pain in the butt to work with and whatever. The other choice is county pays for it. The other choice is we just close up aging and go home. This is absolutely worth doing.
Thank you, Willard. Anybody else from the public like to speak to this? Seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing, and gentlemen, it is in front of us. Laura, do you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay.
At this time.
Do we have any questions for Lori? I think we had some the last time. I think we settled in on these numbers is what she recommended, so it's just a matter, does this need to be done by resolution, Kelly, or is this just a motion that we have to turn in? Okay.
So I move we accept and endorse the transportation policy and fund charges that will be administered to transport people within York County and or to their needed stops for the 23 to 25 years. and including with that the budget that's being proposed.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, guys. Any other questions?
Yeah, but I don't remember what it was. Just when he was making the motion, I had it popped up, but it's gone, so it must not have been that important.
Okay.
You can always ask me later.
Okay.
You're not that old.
Roll call, please.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes,
Thank you, Lori, yes. Okay.
I did remember what it was. You're not handing me that. Is this, for, primarily York County residents, correct? I mean,
It is primarily, it's for the purpose of York County residents. We do, however, have some residents that are right outside our county. They pay a
Sure.
higher rate just because my feeling is that York County residents pay York County taxes. And York County taxes help pay for the service,
Right.
therefore their rates. So for instance, if we go out of county, it is at the higher rate
Right. Yep.
than it is in county.
Thanks.
Okay, we do have a couple of minutes before our next public hearing, so I'd like to bounce back up to the discuss and act on signing Department of Economic Development MOU for the CDBG. This is the grant money for the Four Corners Health Department remodel. Thanks to Daniel's keen eyes, he had caught some mistakes. Those mistakes were corrected yesterday by the DED, and we do have an updated, I assume this is the updated copy. Kelly sent out the updated copy yesterday afternoon of the corrected mistakes. Tom Bliss within SEN had said, thank you for catching it. So that is what is in front of us, memorandum of understanding. Details of $355,000. And as you've seen in there, the $10,000 for administration expenses, $344, $340 for the grant itself, and then $5,000 is unconditional construction management, general administration. So that's what's in front of us. Once we sign this and get this back to them, then it will be a done deal, and the grant or the project would move forward. I know they had high hopes of finishing this, everything and construction before the end of our budget year. That's obviously not gonna happen, so this is probably something that will get budgeted into our next year. We were gonna use our inheritance tax as a way of being able to pay for it and then replenish it, but in this case, the way it looks, it'll be a different route, but it'll be the same deal. Jack, do you have anything to add on the construction? I mean, have you been around to hear anything about the construction?
At the 4-H?
Yes, or the Four Corners, yes.
I have not talked to Laura since.
Okay. So that's what's in front of us right now. We will sign it with your guys' authorization and then get it back to them.
I would make a motion that we authorize signature of the MOU for CBDG funds.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you, Stan. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we are just right at 9:15, so at this time, we will have our second public hearing on a zoning permit application filed by Luke Gruber to exempt one dwelling per quarter. Luke, if you'd like to step up, please. Ask you if you want to, before we jump into the public hearing, if you want to briefly describe what's going on, I'd sure appreciate that. Everybody should have that information in front of them.
I guess, yeah. I'd like to build a house and there's already another dwelling within that quarter. It's actually my parents' place. It'd be like on the corner of it, so there is quite a bit of buffer between the two. I guess it's kind of my really only option where to build at the moment, as there is an irrigation pivot that goes around the field. and it would really hinder that if I wanted to get out of it. So it'd be lost to some farm ground. It's been, my dad and my aunt own the ground currently that I'm purchasing to build the house on. It's been the family for 150 years, so it's been around for quite a while, so I guess, yeah, I'd just like to build there, and start a family there.
Thank you, Luke. At this time, this is a public hearing, and this was in the paper April 7th. It was also on our website. If anybody would like to step forward at this point in time to speak for or against this project, they are welcome to do so. Make room, Luke.
Willard Peterson, 514 Road 13, York, Nebraska, 68467, but I'm a resident of Bradshaw. I've been at a lot of these meetings and a lot of commissioner meetings and a lot of discussion about the development of York County and how it depends on, this is kind of a cliche, but it's also true, the future of any place and anything does not depend on the 80, 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old people. It depends on young people wanting to come in, make where they are a better place. And that's what I thought all of our desires are and wherever we live. And so, you shouldn't put age into it, but age does matter. And so therefore, I see, I see young people. I've heard, been in on some other conversations with other young people wanting to come into the county and do some things and so forth. And everybody has an opinion and everybody has whatever. But for me, if we don't allow some of this, and of course it's in the country, and then you worry about taking up this ground or taking up that ground, well, everybody's got to live somewhere. And in my opinion, all of these people that I can remember talking about are trying to use places that really aren't used for much of anything else. And so I see no problem with this. And also, I just thought with our upcoming zoning and thinking about where places are and how far away you gotta be from everybody else, might be worth thinking about that maybe when people wanna come in and build something, maybe they have to build it really close to somebody else. And so then there's a cluster, and then if you're zoning something else, then it doesn't take, you don't have to zone around this person on this mile and zone around this person on 2 miles. If they're all in a cluster, then you wouldn't have to. That's kind of beside the point, but maybe sort of not.
Thank you, Willard. Anybody else from the public like to speak at this time? Going and gone. We will close the public hearing at this point in time. Okay, gentlemen, at the, I won't have the date right, but at the zoning board meeting, this was presented to that board. It was a unanimous decision by that board to grant this conditional use. There was no opposition at that time either by anybody from the public. I will bring it to your attention that yes, that our zoning regs say they are to protect agriculture. Our zoning regs also say that 1 per 40/40. Now, one can look at protecting agriculture in many different ways. And I would contend that making sure young people have a place to live where they want to live, especially when we have somebody like Mr. Gruber that wants to live on ground that his family had for 150 years, that is protecting agriculture in its own way. Because this is called a conditional use permit, we can put conditions on it that Mr. Gruber has to meet. And that is something that I don't think was brought up at the zoning board meeting, but I would like to bring up the fact that this needs to be a standalone place, meaning it has to have its own electricity, it has to have its own sewer, it has to have its own water, it has to have its own entrance. It needs to be a standalone, needs to be plotted separately. I know you're doing all that. I just want to state the fact that that's a condition of this that I feel needs to be put on there. And that's it, you know, that's all I got. Anybody else have anything else?
Just one piece, if I may.
Go ahead.
At the public hearing where it was approved by the planning board, they did have the opportunity to put specific conditions on this property. They chose not to recommend any. It wasn't particularly brought up, but they chose not to exercise the power that they had. So that I just wanted to bring that up, that as of right now, it is a blank slate coming to this board.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything else that they'd like to add?
Luke, will you enter off the Road 21 or off of Q? Or S, off of Road S into that?
My front driveway would be Road S, so it'd face to the east, where my parents currently faces south. So my address would actually be Road S, Wayne, Nebraska. And it'd be roughly, I think, guessing ballparking 7 acres or a little over, so it's not just on a corner, it's quite a bit of ground that'd be going on.
So the pivotals have a stop that'll stop it from going quite as far as it does now.
Yes, it doesn't go into this property too much already because of my parents' place, but it is a corner system, so it's able to go around both properties and keep irrigating as normal.
And speaking to that, Mr. Ziegler, this is really the only place on that plot of ground that wouldn't interfere with that agriculture. It is in the corner. It is away from where a traditional pivot would reach anyways.
And yes, it will be a complete standalone property from the next one. They won't share any sort of utilities or anything, so.
For a motion or so moved that they grant the application of Mr. Gruber to build his house on that property you described.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Second.
Thank you.
With the conditions that you put into it, to be the standalone property.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sykes?
Yes.
Ziegler?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Rhodes?
Yes.
And Omer?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
I'm glad it got through.
Yes.
I know this was
There were some
cumbersome and
hiccups.
it took a long time. Now the other thing I'd ask is as you move forward, and Willard, you made some good comments there, because the youth is our future. Just remember what the board did for you and look at things that way. You know, always look at both sides and decide what's best for the county as you go forward. And then get involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe see you up here someday. You know, who knows? You'll be in Woody's district, but you know, he might not be a long termer, you know.
Well, I'll be going by every week and checking progress.
Check my progress, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, on to, we got a little time before the Board of Eek, so we're gonna jump back up. Discuss an act on mowing Zion and Union Cemetery. For those of you that are not aware, we do pay 2 individuals to take care of 2 cemeteries that's under the county's control. One of them is Union, and that's on the Interstate 80, just inside of our county. And the other one is Zion, which is up in the northwest corner of our county, up around Arborville. Both of those have been turned in. You got them both in right here. So one is by Mr. Johnson, takes care of the Zion, and Mrs. Higginbotham, okay, takes care of the Union. Higginbotham is asking for $700. This needs to be taken care of at a minimum twice a year, before Memorial, before Labor Day. But as you drive by as I drive by and look at the interstate, it gets taken care of way more often than that. We pay off this invoice, but we pay half now and half in August or September, is what we do. And Mr. Johnson's is $800 is what he's asking for. That one is actually back in the middle of the field. I believe it's foot traffic only, although Mr. Johnson, I think, farms the farm that connects right to it. So those are the two that we have in front of us today.
Have they agreed to do it again?
Yes, they've agreed to do them both.
Same rate as last year, or increased, or same fees last year? Or?
Same fee.
I think Mr. Johnson, worked on some headstones, fixed some headstones, I think, last year.
And it's more than just mowing, it ends up being tree trimming and, you know, and everything like that too. And if you want, I know I personally talked to Mr. Johnson, and, you know, we can get back in there, just, we need to get a hold of them first. You know. The one on the interstate, you come in on 9, 10, and then you come south down to the interstate on basically a trail. You can see it best from the interstate, but I would recommend coming in the other way, so.
I would make a motion that we approve, the mowing on Zion and Union cemeteries.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I guess just a quick, for the new members, the reason we do these two is that these two cemeteries no longer have a cemetery board that's watching over those, so that falls to us.
They've been abandoned for so many years.
Right.
Any other? Roll call.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Use texts and emails, we don't do phone calls. This system would then do phone calls. And one of the good things about the upgrade too is they can set their own notification timelines. Right now, for our weather notifications, they go automatically out once the National Weather Service issues them. And so that, we have to set those parameters, like if we don't want them going out from midnight to 4 AM, we set that for everybody. This would provide the individuals to be able to set their own parameters. So if they wanted to receive them anytime, day or night, they could do that. The current system too, we're on like a credit. So each notification we send out uses credits. The new system, there wouldn't be any credits on that. We've never went past the credits that we used, they eliminate that credit usage. There is an additional cost. There's 3 different things, the community engagement, resident connection, and smart weather. It amounts to about $2,000 additional dollars for each county. So that's the reason we kind of want to discuss how we might pay for that additional cost. But if you look at it now, we're paying about, I think at $1.64 per person that signed up. That'd go down to about down to 35 cents. So it really dropped the cost per usage of the persons.
Is that because everybody's automatically signed up?
You're right.
Versus now
Right,
the
right now,
voluntary sign up?
Yeah, it's voluntary sign up. You know, you can text the sign up, or you can go on the website, county website, and sign up there too.
And to support Gary, this Everbridge system was the system that we used over in Mitchell County. As an end user for 5 years, we used Everbridge, and it was certainly helpful to have that kind of broad audience using that community package, especially with, as an example, YRTC would have constant escapees of juvenile inmates, and we would immediately send out Everbridge, and we would have those kids caught within 30 minutes to an hour. So there's some advantages to it, and I know over the last 4 years that we've had Nixle, it's been really hard to get the community to sign up, and we would only get sign up after we would send out a message and it would go by word of mouth. Haven't really been doing a lot of PR on it, so I think it would be advantageous for us to use the resident connection. And obviously, given the opportunity to purchase the system, we would set boundaries on when a policy and procedure to say when we could send out that imminent threat to life type message out to the community because of that stipulation there.
And this one, we'd also be able to do like with our Nixle, we can do a employee,
Yeah, I remember.
where we just want to notify, in the event of courthouse closure, courthouse, whatever,
You can
opening late.
set up as many groups as you want to.
Okay.
And you can use it for special events like like York Fest or something like that. You can just set up a special sign-in just for that, if you wanted to send out, people to sign up for that. And I've encouraged in the past for each individual office to use it. They can send out messages to their own employees. Just have the department head be the administrator, for their group. And they can send it out just to them, or they could send it just to the county board. They can set up that group too. There's a lot of different ways, it can be utilized. Like I said, we do a joint contract with Seward and York, so they both have to agree. And then we do a 3-year contract. That way we're locked into that price and they can't increase it on us for those 3 years. And it's worked out very well. The Seward County Sheriff's Office uses it a lot, especially for interdepartmental stuff. They can send out meeting notices and stuff just to their people, and if they have certain messages they just want to go to their group, it could, on anything, it works well for them.
When was the contract date again?
September is when it expires.
And it just expires, we don't have to opt out of what we're into, we don't have to give written notice or anything like that to the.
No,
the
it all
group?
expires, so we just have to either, still go with the base, or we can go with the increased,
Okay, and then the fees that were put in front of us on the 3 years, is that your counties, or is that both?
That's both counties together.
Okay, so
Yeah.
our cost would be just around $4,200, something like that on an annual basis.
And currently it's $23.94 each county. So.
Okay.
Yep, so it goes up about $1,800 per county.
But then everybody is in the system, and
Yeah.
they would have to, if they don't want to receive it, they'd have to opt out.
They opt out then, yep, and currently we're around 10%. With this resident connection, it'd go up to like 81% in each county.
Who will administer, will that fall into your hat?
Yeah, currently Nixle Wire, so he's got his own emergency management group, and then I handle York Alert for the entire county.
Yeah, we're basically the two administrators of the account here in this county. But we can, like I said, we can add users below that, for.
Go ahead, Daniel.
So if we upgrade, the migration process, for those that are already signed up, seamless, is there a re-enroll? What would happen there, do we know?
My understanding is they just transition over all current users
Sure.
and current groups.
Okay.
And then additionally, we would get the community package on top of that, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and then there's additional training, because it is a little different system from what we're currently using. They provide that. And, I think that could work out well.
And I think it just comes down to policy then, you as a board, what uses do you have for it? What does law enforcement want to use it for, so that there's limited discretion on the dispatcher side on what they can and cannot do when putting those messages out.
Can this be expanded to include the school district population, have a group that's the school districts, so you pick up a McCool group and a Centennial group or a York group? Is it something that you can have that kind of announcement for the schools also, or?
Yeah, you could. Lots of times schools have their own, but you could. But you have to have them let you know that who they want in that group though too. You know, we can set up as many groups as we want to. Like for the county employees, we have them sign a sheet saying, yes, I want to receive these text messages. You know, that way we have their authorization to put them in, you know, into that group, so.
But if they could opt in, they could say, we could save the school districts that amount of money if they were already buying a program too, correct, or not?
Yeah, it'd be a little more complicated getting them to make sure that, I don't know how we do that. Cause you'd want them to kind of manage their own account. And I don't know if we could do that. That'd be a question I'd have to ask them on that.
I think it would require probably an MOU of sorts between the county and the schools to understand and set boundaries. I don't think it's not possible. I mean, they're using a notification system. We're just using an emergency notification system, so it's trying to meet in the middle on that.
It may be easier to set up, you know, a group of school administrators.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And send them to them, and then they can send it out through their own system. That way, we're not having to try and manage, you know, people underneath them.
And that
That's
could
the way I'd
be,
see it.
yeah, that would be a good insert for policy. Maybe there is an event, a large law enforcement presence going on in an area that we can set up those school administrators just to give them a heads up. And then they would follow their policy and procedure on whether they would lock down for that law enforcement presence or remain open, whatever the case may be.
Go ahead.
Currently, whose budget does this come out of? Is it emergency management or is it 911?
Comes out of mine.
Okay, no. And then the cost share, is that just split 50-50?
Yes.
Between the two?
Okay, this was just basically for heads up information.
Yep.
If there's any more questions that we would have, because like I say, we wouldn't have to act, obviously we'll be into the budget process. You know, we can talk about that throughout the budget process too, to make sure we get the right numbers put in the event that we decide to go this way. So, we wouldn't have to act on this till, like I say.
Yeah, I don't know, there's, Zach, that, you know, like I say, it's September, we kind of want to look ahead, you know, I don't know how good the quote was for, I'd have to look at that, but,
Okay.
you know, we just wanted to give you, you know, a little feel for what the cost might be and what it can do. And I'm gonna talk to this Jake Tallman, he's the one I've been visiting with through Everbridge, and I'll set up another demo where he can kind of go through it a little bit more again. You know, we've had those in the past, we haven't had very many people come on, but we'll try and get, you know, that set up so you guys can, you know, sit on that.
Well, you may want to, if you're gonna do that, you check with him to see how long the quote is good for.
Yeah.
And if there is a timestamp on it, then we would wanna get it on the agenda as to discuss and act before that. Now, have we, in comparison, is it, can we compare this to Nixle, our current system? I mean, I know you obviously feel like this is the right way to go, but just price-wise and stuff like that, maybe if we reach out and get, or have those numbers too for the board to mull over at the same time.
Okay, yeah, it said it expires on October 3rd.
Okay, so we do have a little
So-
time on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm thinking it expires in September, the current. Okay, yeah, we got time.
I think from our discussions too, he's already talked to Seward County Board of Commissioners and it was well received there as well.
Okay.
Like, it was just discussion there too, so.
Okay.
Seems
All right,
Thank
we'll,
you.
we'll wait to hear from you again then, Gary.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We should be able to get one more before the Board of Equalization. Discuss and act on opening accounts for the federal forfeiture money. Are you here just to,
I have Josh's suggestions on what to name them.
okay,
Just so that we don't get dinged on our audit again, so.
okay.
The
Look.
names,
Just give us a little history before we get to the names.
Okay,
So everybody's,
We underwent a federal compliance check on our federal fund. And we've been going through that for about the last 6 months, I would say. And so throughout that time, they've been looking through our documentation, looking through different procedures and how we control the fund. A couple things that they pointed out was, or one of the things that they pointed out was that the interest that is earned on the federal money needs to be returned back into that federal fund. And so one of the ways that we wanted to rectify that was by creating accounts so that each of these accounts we'd be able to track the interest on each account and make it a lot easier for auditing purposes moving forward in the future. So that's what we would be looking at doing is opening up a separate account, because you cannot commingle the funds according to the rules. So you have what they consider to be treasury funds and justice funds. And it depends on which federal entity that you get it from as to which one it goes into. So we had to go through and write a full policy on which entities are which. We went through and looked at all of that, all of those fine details. A majority of the money that we receive is currently treasury funds, but we do have some justice funds. They do want you to have those set up so that the money is not ever crossed over. So what we're looking at is the authority to go through and to open 4 funds. It would be a treasury and a justice fund for the Sheriff's Department, a treasury and a justice fund for the York County Attorney's Department, so that those funds could be held separately and that interest could be tracked.
And just for your information, the Sheriff's Department was the department that was audited. It was not the County Attorney's Department, but obviously the learning curve for the Sheriff's Department says we need to get this done for the county attorneys also. And on these funds would be York County Treasurer's name would be on this fund, and then whoever the sheriff decides to be his representative and whoever the county attorney decides to be his representative, those names would be on the fund also, and signature cards would have to be. Cornerstone Bank asked us to have this in our meeting and have meeting minutes to prove this is what the Board of Commissioners wanted before they'll open up the funds. Anything else to add today?
Just that my deputy is also gonna be on it, Michelle.
Okay.
The one thing I would request is the naming of it does matter. So I did go through and I did send out an email just with the names of the accounts so that we can specify, because that's something that they requested us. The auditor, the one that did our compliance check, requested that we have specific wording on it. Then that way we can differentiate between the funds.
Okay, so the name would be York County Sheriff Federal Treasury Fund, York County Sheriff Federal Justice Fund, York County Attorney Federal Treasury Funds, York County Attorney Federal Justice Funds is the name of the 4 funds we would need to create. And then between Megan and between Cornerstone, we'll get those figures that each one in the right place. And it's from this point forward. We're not gonna go back and try to figure interest or anything in the rear. The money will be moved around from this time forward and kept track of. So do we need a resolution, or is that just straight motion to do that? Clear?
Sounds good.
That's good.
I would make a motion that we approve the creation of said funds.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Are there charges for an account like this? Is there a minimum amount of balance that has to be maintained in these funds so that Cornerstone isn't charging you back for having that? How does that operate?
So the way that we set up our initial accounts, in the funds that we've set up, or the checking accounts that we've set up, they have not charged us a fee. We do that intentionally. We try to go to no fee accounts just because then we don't have to track the fees that come out. There was one fund that we would use as a pass-through account that they held open for us for a period of time, that its standard balance was 90 cents. So that's how we would know whether or not money had been deposited in that needed to be transferred into the fund. So at this time, I don't believe that that's the case, but we can definitely check.
Okay. Do we need anything else? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we will recess at this point in time from the Board of Commissioners. We will convene as the Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Present?
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes, okay. Open meetings law is posted on the south side of the chambers, is on the hallway outside of our chambers, is also on the News Times, or on our website, I'm sorry. Proof of publication was in the News Times the 13th of April. It is also on our website. Next, we need to review and approve the minutes of our April 4th Board of Equalization meeting.
Move to approve?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes, adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bear,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes.
Morning,
Good morning, Kurt.
Kurt Mulder, York County Assessor, here to present a tax list correction to you gentlemen. This was an instance where there was someone that was double billed, and we certainly don't want to do that.
Mr. Johnson took over this position last year. He had said that he would give us a year. He has told me, and he is gone now, that he'll do what it takes to help us keep going and move forward. So it's kind of up to this board to figure out, and I think we've all talked about the history of where it's been and what we've done, what we want to continue to do with this position, and how we want to possibly change it, leave it the same. What do we need to do? It would be my opinion that we try to get, obviously, the right person for the job, and we strive to do that with whatever we're looking to employ. I would like to open it up. I would like to advertise it. Doing that, we're gonna have to come up with probably a little bit better description and figure out the pay for sure. I mean, we know what we're paying right now, $20,000 annually to that position. But yes, we would have to get into a little bit more detail, which, you know, I think we probably should do anyway, to know just exactly where it's at, who they fall under, what they're supposed to do. Our zoning rules explain what the administrator is supposed to do, but I think that would be part of the job description. So that's my short spiel on it.
I would agree that I think taking the time to find the right person rather than just quickly finding someone to fill a position is the right way to go. And like you said, might take a little bit more time to create the correct job description and get it posted out there, but I think that that's the correct way to go. And I think that way we can target and we open it up to people outside current county employment. But if there's somebody that's in county employment that wants to apply for it, I think that that's perfectly reasonable as well.
Anybody else have any comments towards it?
How about sharing one with another county? Is that a possibility?
It could be. It could be. Personally, I think going into the phase we're gonna go into now with our comp.
It's been very busy.
Our comp pan coming up, yeah, it could be pretty busy, but that could be, you know, if we didn't get any applications, if we wanted to go that route, we would have to look in to see who the other counties have. I know that typically you do that with a neighboring county. And for instance, Polk County, it's their chairman that sits as their zoning administrator. And I mean, it's pretty slow in Polk County, they don't have near as much going on as what we do. I couldn't tell you for sure. Gary, do you have any idea who does, is it a standalone in Seward County?
The weed superintendent, she's the zoning administrator and the weed superintendent.
Okay. And I know that in other counties that is the case. They're a dual purpose job, you know, likewise. Gage County is the emergency manager and the zoning administrator, which I did run that by Gary and he respectfully declined, because he's got the two counties. So, you do see that a lot, that they put on two separate hats and go that way. And of course, that's what we've been doing, you know, so. But that is an idea, Stan.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because they may have already done it really well for another county, that it would carry over here. But I don't, to find that person, if it's just a half-to job, then they wouldn't be good enough probably. You know, if they aren't really into it, we need to find somebody that's really into it, that's done a lot of that kind of work that could carry over to your county. But
Yeah.
hard to find.
And I've already talked to Kurt that was here. You know, his office is involved with the permitting process and stuff like that. And we think it'd be a good idea to maybe get it started off there, you know, having the permits and everything into that office first. So, I mean, if we did partner with another one, have an interlocal agreement with another county, then, you know, there would be that connection, or whichever way we decide to go.
Randy, can I add a comment, please?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention also when I started here, something that was kind of lost in translation is that all of that 911 addressing has to go to Windstream to update the MSAG, which is the Master Street Address Guide. And that's what routes 911 calls specific to our 911 center. So this zoning administrator not only has to coordinate with the assessor's office, but they also have to coordinate with 911 to ensure that all of those landlines and VoIPs are getting routed to the correct 911 center. And that was something that had been lost transitioning from Sheriff's Office 911. And I think it's just mostly, it was something Jan did and just got lost in translation as I took over the role. So I know that's something that we have to also maintain when those 911 addresses come in.
Thank you. So at this time, like I say, I don't know, what do you think, Daniel? Do we want to try to reach out to somebody first, or do we want to try to form? I think even if we do reach out, we probably should have a job description. And I know that the clerk's office had been working on job descriptions over the last several years or forever.
We're just waiting for different departments to get us.
Do we have one for that particular that you're aware of?
I'd have to look, because we go off the NERMA book. So if they had one in there, we would go off that information.
Okay.
We'll have to look into that.
Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner Bear's point too, maybe there's counties that have job descriptions for zoning administrators that you might have a good one and no need to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to.
So I think maybe the first steps that we want to do, I think it's definitely worth looking into neighboring counties and see if there's a shared opportunity. And then while we're doing that, look, you know, we could ask them about job descriptions with the end goal of, you know, depending on what we find in a shared role, creating a zoning admin job description, and then creating a posting out there. Can we do that without coming up with you know, there's probably steps in between there before it can actually be put out there, whether or not we want to put, you know, compensation in the job posting, etc. But I think that, I mean, that's the direction I would probably wanna see it start moving.
Okay. Well, I can sure reach out. Gary can get me contact information, for Seward. As I stated, I think Polk is probably out, Hamilton and Fillmore. We can reach out to those individual counties, see where they're at, see if they have any info for us. We can check and see if there is a job description maybe we have or access to. And then we can bring that back in a couple weeks for our May 2nd meeting and just keep on this. The one thing we don't wanna do is say, well, we're gonna get together in another month and a half and figure it out. I want to stay on this, so. Does anybody else have anything else on that?
It's not a position we can ignore. It's alive and well. We've got to deal with it. And we're being reactive rather than being proactive, so we gotta move on it. But I don't wanna just put anybody in there. It's gotta be somebody that's gonna have the skill set to.
Okay, so we'll do that. So at this point in time then, because it was on discuss and act, I'd ask for a motion to table this till the March 2nd meeting. March 2nd, May 2nd. I caught it.
I would make a motion that we postpone action to May 2nd.
Sorry, bad leader.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I guess, while we're looking for a zoning, I think this would be a perfect opportunity. If we had an HR person, this would be right up their alley of
Helping us
to
help guide us.
Guide us through all this information, so.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
And Fullmeyer.
Yes. Okay, discuss and act on authorization of cybersecurity grant application. Who wants to speak to this? Woody or Daniel? Woody, apparently.
Well, we looked at this and found out that there is a grant application process to have a cybersecurity program, policy and program within the county. It opened it up they opened it up for applications on March 1st, but the closing is April 30th. And as I read through the 93-page description of what was all involved, they really talk about a month-long process just to get the numbers and the codes and stuff in place to actually be able to apply for a grant. We do not have a cybersecurity policy in place. We don't really have some of the technology conversations in place yet either. I think as much as I'd like to say, let's go after $100,000, which is the maximum that they would offer, and there's 2.55 million for Nebraska. It would be really nice to go after it. I don't think we can do a grant application correctly within the parameters of the timelines and the step-by-step procedures that they have in place. I'm not all the way to page 93 with all my notes and readings yet, but I have a sense that we maybe could jump into the second year and approach it appropriately.
Okay.
And they do say you get more credit if you include multiple bodies, so the school district, the banks, things that aren't county, but if you can involve more entities, it gives you a better score for an application, and they'll actually help you pay to create your cybersecurity policy. But the timeline that we're dealing with, I don't think we really can do it for this application period, April 30th.
Is there any others that are taking advantage of it that you're aware of? I mean, like through the SWORM group and stuff like that, do they give any advice or they have?
Right, there hasn't been much feedback as far as
Okay.
what they've seen. At least I haven't, I don't know if you've had any conversations, but, yeah, what I'm wondering, you know, like it being open March 1st, then they did already extend the deadline once. The webinar, I think that was like middle of March, maybe.
Yes.
I kind of wonder, this is the first time this has been presented. Some part of me wonders if they're gonna want to, the lack of applications might have them take a look at it and say, hey, you know what? We didn't give enough time. Let's give them till X. Now, maybe there's 5 that have, and they'll get
the maximum.
Right, yeah, I don't know.
And did it detail what the money could be used for?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
several items. You can use it to monitor and track system application users, monitor and audit and track network traffic, enhance preparation, response, and resilience of your systems, assessment and mitigation of your policy, methodologies with your policy, online services through .gov, workforce development, leverage the CISA services, continuity of communication and data networks, cybersecurity risk and threat strategies, information technology and operational technology modernization review, assess and mitigate cybersecurity risks and threats to critical infrastructure and key resources, continuity of operations, cyber threat indicator, information sharing, rural and local communities. So there's those 15 different topics. Initially, as we were hearing it, I thought, well, this is a perfect way to get all the servers and all the wiring and bring them down into the secure location. But even to get the numbers and the timing,
Right.
in place to say, okay, it's gonna cost $700 to move our personal servers down there. Okay, well, what's it gonna cost to move the state servers down there? What's the timeline when everybody's gonna be asleep so we can get them done and have them being offline? Does it also go to the punch pads for the phone system? I mean, just how big a deal is it? And I don't see us getting the appropriate numbers to be, it'd be one thing to say, we want $100,000 to go down and move all this stuff and be secure, but they want actual quotes from vendors that are gonna do it. We can't get that done in the amount of time that we have had since the webinar and when it's due.
Yeah, they want a shovel-ready project, not a paper-ready.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So do you see it something we need to continue to work on?
Right, that's where I was gonna go.
And not, and that way, we do have these items, and then I guess if there's money available, and I still think it's a good idea, as you mentioned, Woody, about getting, our servers and everything into a secure location, even if that is monies that we already have and control. I still think it's a good idea. Grants are always nice to have, but they don't always work out too.
And in the technology conversations we've had, how do you get people to know, well, this is just some spam that's coming to you, or this is a way to get into your bank account or into your system, and training. So there is appropriate training that needs to take place, and this would be a way to fund those days or those hours that are gonna be necessary to do that. But we have to have a logical end goal and then back up and say, how are we gonna get there, and then build that into this application. We don't have time, we don't have personnel in place right now to create this document to meet the needs of what this application is.
Okay.
In my mind, maybe somebody else does.
I would agree with you. Leela's here from the tech committee. Do you have thoughts? I mean, yeah, like we said, grant money's great, but putting forward a half of an application probably isn't gonna get us anywhere either.
It's gonna require a project manager, and I know, we've already received one quote for moving that rack downstairs, and it was for $525, and I don't think Don
Well,
quite
that wasn't the rack, that wasn't the state stuff, that was just the county stuff, so there's a
Correct.
couple servers and those 3 computers.
Correct, but I don't think he quite understood, and correct me if I'm
No, I would
wrong,
agree.
that I think his idea was to leave the switches there because he would only be running 4 wires, which is how we're currently set up. I have 4 wires running up there to have access to that equipment. I think his idea was to leave the switches there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we wanted to be able to move everything downstairs, including the switches, and that's more than 4 wires.
Right.
Or to leave the switches in that room, but then that would still require a rack there, and I don't think Kurt wants that. So I think it's gonna require a project management leader to move Spectrum's fiber, to move Windstream's fiber, to move the switches downstairs. And it would require all those wires being moved down there, but to be rerouted to everywhere in this courthouse, because we don't want to splice wires and then find out later we're having problems on why things are going down. So I think truly to make it work, move that rack downstairs and you have to completely rewire the entire courthouse.
Right.
And that could be funded through this grant.
So when we're talking about a project manager, are we talking about somebody in-house or hiring somebody out of house
Well,
to do
and you
it?
could go either way. I mean, it's an entire,
Because we're doing somebody
infrastructure.
in-house, and we're putting on 2 hats again, or maybe even a
Yes.
3rd or a 4th or a 5th hat. Who
Yes.
knows who this person
that
is?
might be the better option, to have somebody with that type of experience to help move
Come
that
in
down
and look
there.
at our system and just say, hey, okay.
Yep.
Well, what's on there right now is just a cybersecurity grant. That's where we're at on it, and it's sounding like that at this point in time, that we'd just say, no.
Right. And maybe that's the right move. And where I'm going with is, there's 2 different ways in my mind that I'm thinking about. But the correct way is probably just to say no at this time. But if in my optimist mind, sometimes I have an optimist mind, if they extend that deadline, I guess then we can just put it back on the agenda at that point. Where I was going was wondering about postponing, or, what the right motion would be, if there is an opportunity to apply yet for this same application.
But all we know right now is the 30th.
Correct.
Which we're not gonna make.
Right. And looking closely at the news release, this news release said it went out on February 21st. Well, they're not giving you a great big window to do this grant application correctly. And yeah, I would hope that they're gonna come back and say, okay, we still have 200 million or to spend, now there's another application.
Yep.
They very clearly say, no applications after the due date.
Okay. Yep.
In the 93-page document. But they may change.
Sure.
They like to spend money, and so let's let them do it.
Okay.
And I think we can go to the technology board and take this grant application and say, okay, Lily, you're the expert on the communication piece. Would you look at this particular section of the application and would you work on that? Mary, you're really good on the number stuff. Would you take care of this? And divide and conquer, so this isn't such an overwhelming task for 1 person or 2 people at a time.
So
do we know the goal that we have for the cybersecurity? Do we have a plan of what we want to do?
So as the tech committee, we're working on a overall tech and cybersecurity policy.
And you have that in place?
We do not. We're currently.
That's probably first.
Writing.
And it's first in the grant application, unless you're applying for money to help develop a cybersecurity policy.
Okay.
And then our goal is, after that policy, or while we create that policy, then
you can
our
apply for a
target
grant.
for this grant money was to move that server room down to the security room. Would it be correct to make a motion for just tabling the cybersecurity grant application? Just kind of.
Yep, postpone it. We can postpone it if you want.
If we postpone it, do we have to put a date on it, or can we just postpone?
No, tabling kind of puts it on the shelf.
Right.
Postponing it would just put it off if you want to, and hold up and see.
Right.
And see where it goes. That's what's on the agenda.
Yep.
I think your tech committee is obviously gonna keep working forward on the policy and different things like that. And I think as we talked, me and you did a little bit about, just keep moving forward and figuring out how we're gonna get that server room more secure and stuff like that, so. And that would come with the IT piece that we've been talking about too, I would assume. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, if you wanna postpone this.
Yeah, I would make a motion to postpone action on authorization of cybersecurity grant.
Okay.
No second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
We should know going in, it's a 90-10 grant application, so if it's 100,000, we're gonna invest 10,000 to get that, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, next up is what we're gonna call, just discuss, currently, did you have that fund sheet? Did you put that fund sheet away? Two, there it is. 2580, account 2580's got currently, as the end, I should say, well, this would be current to today, wouldn't it? $2,078,151.42 in it. There'll be a little bit more, I'm sure gravel money come out, by the end of the year, so it will be right in that $2 million time frame. That money's is something that has to have dedication by the end of '24, spent by the end of '26. We probably, and that's why I put it on here, we need to start thinking about some of the projects, especially if we start involving Harvey. I know this last year, the two projects, which is down on Road 2, and it's over here on what, K?
Yeah.
K?
Yep.
The bridge on K. Those are roundabout ARPA monies that are going to that. But he had those somewhat ready. Anything else, it takes him more time. It's not like you just go out, get a paver and pave a road. We gotta, go through the engineering and different things like that. So if we're thinking about some of those projects around the county, we need to start identifying those so he can get those designed and put some costs so we can get it budget and different things like that. I know I did have a conversation with Harvey over the last 2 weeks about some roads that he specifically deemed as important, and that would be asphalting. One of them is what is gonna be called Country Club Avenue, so as you go out on West Nobes and it links up with the Country Club Avenue and then goes out to the bypass, that one is one that is in poor shape. So that is our road up to the bypass. Out by the county shop, starting to show some wear and tear, so that is our road, and then as we go north. So he had identified a couple of those as asphalt projects that he felt like if we waited for our bond, which is 7 years yet before it's mature, that those roads would be in really bad shape if we was gonna wait to the bond. So they may be two candidates for that. I brought up the ethanol plant one, and because we're doing a little bit of fix and repair on that one, he feels like that one should, with the continued fix and repair, should be able to make it to that bonding. Another one that I know that gets brought up is down in your area. It's the McCool, mainly east.
Right.
But he had said that he felt like that road could make it, but definitely gonna be ready. And that he was talking about Lushton all the way to S. So it's a long stretch across there, but that would be part of the next bond. Currently we've been doing some upgrades within the courthouse. We've been doing some carpet on the main floor, that will continue up into the second floor, doing some stuff that hasn't been done for years and years and years. I know that I did visit with the sheriff about possible needs or wants that could come out of this. We talked about some radios for corrections. I know a drone was mentioned, possible, putting a drone on and going through those steps of having that as part of our sheriff's department now. So those are some of the things that are out there, and just looking at opening it up to see if you guys have any. I mean, there's the money is essentially whatever we want to spend it on. I mean, at first it had restrictions. And then after that, it turned out being that any general budgetary item, for anybody that received under 10 million, they could spend that money as discretionary. We just have to, which we will do this week, we have to report it and, through the website, just exactly which every dollar went to. And Kelly and myself will sit down and finish that up this week. So that's the only hitch to it. Well, I guess the other one is, we have to go by the uniform code for expenditures, and anybody that we spend money with has got to have a UEI number, which used to be a Dun and Bradstreet number, and most everybody has those. They just kind of curious why we're asking for it. So anyhow, anything you guys want to look at that we need to start looking at? For instance, I know there was some discussion about the bays on the south side of our courthouse. There's an overhang there, and there's always need for more space in garages. And if we start talking about something like that, now we are getting into a design and build where it takes some time. There's been some talk about, do we shut down and go to one entrance and make this courthouse more secure? Be a little bit of design and build, on something like that, which takes some time. It's not like we can do that in a short amount of time.
Yeah, the security, one entrance, another thing that came up in tech, we were talking about adding more door security and more key fob type locks. So that was one thing that was kind of tossed out there, that if we secured the offices with the door badges, that maybe some ARPA money could help cover some of those costs. We did talk with Harvey this morning a little bit about those same roads that you mentioned. There's one thought that I had, there's some different technology products out there for dirt and gravel roads. So I just tossed that out to Harvey and said, hey, is this something where we try some of these new products with some ARPA money to see if they're gonna work? He's open to thinking about it, but some of them, he'd really prefer other counties be the guinea pig and see if they actually work before we dive in on them. One thing as we were sitting here, talking about the new mass alert system, maybe we direct some ARPA funds to help get into an alert system where everybody is being notified. A lot of the push and a lot of the statewide discussions that we've been to lately is don't forget about broadband. And we've entered into a study, we've looked at that. It is pricey, but it is the future. And so looking at maybe a public-private partnership with somebody that would want to come in and service the county, putting some of that ARPA money towards that might not be a bad idea.
Yes, and there is an opportunity, I believe there'll be more opportunities on broadband, for more monies that's coming, that it sounds like there'll be match opportunities, so if we had, you know, some of the money that was set aside to do that, and we could get a company that would, but it is very, I mean, very pricey. We're, you know, some of the numbers I heard from when Gage County had done some burial, and it was 35,000 a mile, I think is the number that they were doing. They were putting fiber underground, and very, 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 very spendy. Adds up in a hurry. But you start somewhere.
Starting somewhere, I was thinking, we should probably have Harvey go ahead and figure out, get some engineering done on these asphalt projects, so things start moving, because that takes too much time.
It does.
I don't know if we're ready to make that motion, but we need to get moving, I think.
He talks about, I mean, if we give him the direction to say, hey, get the ball rolling on it, then that's absolutely, I mean, there's no huge cost into us, you know, at that point in time.
Right.
But yeah.
Would the ARPA money pay for that in case we didn't go through with it? They'd pay for that engineering, well, we ought to just do it.
Any budgetary expense, you know, obviously, can be done through that. Yeah, and those are just the ones, I don't know, did he identify any more? Those were the first ones that he had identified to me.
It's just a personal thing. When I started sitting in here looking at, okay, should I be a commissioner or not? One of the things I'd like to see about a 96-inch monitor up here, so the people that are in the back row can see, what are we really talking about? And maybe a document scanner, so we can say, okay, here's that playground that we're talking about. Here's a picture of what they were proposing. And so the people that are here, but then also the people that are out online can actually see what's going on. It's not a tremendous expenditure, but it builds more transparency into what we're doing up here in this office. Since I became a commissioner, I've had a lot of people volunteer their roads to be asphalt projects. But I don't think Harvey and I need to have that conversation. And they're wondering when my hill's gonna get asphalt down there.
Yeah.
One, you know, we did a little bit, we've been talking about courthouse updates, etc. Redoing or adding some nice furniture down in the old commissioner's room. It really looks nice down there with the new tables and the new chairs. You know, we could think about doing something in here as well.
I don't know if you know it, but those black chairs are actually not even ours.
Right.
They're the district court chairs. They're on permanent loan to us. Yeah, I mean, the commissioners in the past have typically been frugal, and no fault there, but yeah. We do have a nice training facility downstairs, which was paid for by that money too. Obviously it's not discuss an act, it's just discuss right now. I'm hearing some good ideas. I think that, you know, Harvey, you know, we trust in his opinion. He drives these roads. I know we all probably drive them a little bit. He drives them continual, and, you know, maybe we'll get him the ball rolling a little bit so we can see what figures. And Daniel brought up a good point. You know, if we start talking about broadband money, I mean, just a small piece, you know, $500,000 doesn't, but if we could parlay that into some fixed wireless, that would help out, you know, I mean, that could be some stuff that are in some tough areas, because I know we do have those tough areas in our county. Is there any interest in that amongst the board?
There sure would be with me, you know, if we talk to a Big Red or somebody and say, hey, would you put a repeater up here that's up high enough that it can bounce into some of the valleys that we have? There are a lot of people that are in dead zones, and they need some support to be able to help that. But it's got a private entity can't go in there and say, well, I'm gonna put up a repeater and then another repeater to get down into this valley. That's not cost effective for them either. So they need some encouragement from somewhere to make it be that we can reach out to everybody. And if we're talking about keeping kids, young people, everybody's young anymore, but young people in the county, wireless access, internet access is gonna be a factor that's gonna do that.
Okay.
And we've seen with all this COVID stuff, a lot of people did remote work. Well, if they can still have the option to remote work, we might have people that are working in Lincoln decide to stay out here instead of moving to Lincoln or Grand Island or Omaha. So it's a factor. Way back when Senator Kerry talked about having this be a silicone prairie rather than just a corn prairie. And that's part of this conversation.
Well, and I'm sure that NACO will continue to keep us informed about the federal dollars that are out there, and the broadband, because there is a push, and I don't think that push is gonna go away, and I hope it don't go away.
Correct, yeah.
But when you start talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars to get a county up and going, it's gonna take a little bit of leadership, no doubt about it. Okay, any other, go ahead,
Weird
Stan.
thing about the whole thing is we already have broadband where I'm at, fiber to all the homes. It's just because your companies didn't do their job like that company did. And that's why we have the mess we have in York County. But I don't know, that's,
When you have a monopoly running broadband in town, you're not gonna get what you're getting now, because now Alo's coming in town, and they're fiber optic. So that's a lot different, and I'll tell you, that company that used to be in town here, their service went downhill.
Yep.
The price went uphill. They're gonna lose a lot of customers when Alo starts hooking up.
well, anyway, it's kind of a odd situation where we have really good spot in part of the county and a horrible spot in the other part of the county, because my son has no.
Well, it's not gonna do any good to put GPS tracking in your tractors out in the field, because they're all gonna be electric.
Run by solar power, right?
And they'll be pulling a generator behind them.
Okay. So, at this point in time, we're gonna continue to talk about this. We had some ideas, we'll get Harvey rolling
Yeah.
on some things.
That sounds
And then we'll continue, like say, bringing this up over time. It is 10:30, and I assume Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, come on forward. And Patrick Kreifels?
Yes, Patrick Kreifels, Region 5 Systems. I'm the regional administrator.
Okay.
Thanks for having me this morning. I do have some handouts for you. May I approach?
You bet.
Morning. Morning, Jack. Good morning. Nice to see you. Morning. 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 So just as a reminder, Region 5 Systems is the behavioral health authority. We are one of 6 regions across Nebraska, and we were established by statute, LB 1083 back in 1974. Our catchment area is 16 counties in southeast Nebraska. Our urban county is Lincoln, Lancaster County, and then the rest of the 15 counties are rural counties. I wanted to go over a few things with you today, and I think we have about 15 minutes. Does that sound correct on the schedule? Or whatever?
You can take what you need.
Okay, all right.
If it gets to lunchtime, you're buying.
All right. Well, I'll get out of here before lunch. How about
Okay,
that?
thank you.
So the first thing in your packet is in relationship to the county match. And every county that is in Region 5's catchment area has a county match in relationship to substance use and mental health services within our catchment area. And that's based on Nebraska Revised Statute 71-808. So you can see the first, on the left there is the counties, and mental health on top and substance use on bottom. And then the first grade column is FY 22-23. That's the current fiscal year that we're in, July 1st, 22 through June 30th of 23. So York County, your county match for mental health is approximately $37,341. And then for that was mental health, and substance use is 6,717. So I want to just talk about the next three columns here, FY 22, 24, FY 3%, FY 23, 24, and reinstatement of 2.4 million and plus 3% increase FY 23, 24. Little foundation before I go there. So back in December of 2022, the prior director of the Division of Behavioral Health, Sherry Dawson, she submitted her budget to the governor-elect at that time in December, Governor Pillen, and she included in her budget 10.3 million basis in relationship to 15% provider rate increases from the prior legislative year and fiscal year. And then January 25th of 2023, Governor Pillen then pulled that 10.3 million out of his budget when he announced his budget on January 25th, and said that those could be absorbed by the regions within our current budgets. So we had an initial preliminary budget allocation back in December, and then we pulled that back out, or the governor pulled the 10.3 million out, and so we have our current allocation for next fiscal year, July 1 of 23 through June of 24. So that's that second column. And that pulls that, for Region 5, our catchment area, that pulls about 2.4 million out of our budget. Our allocation is about 25% of the entire state's behavioral health aid budget. And it's based on population. So what we're looking at next year, your county match is gonna go down because it pulls about 2.4 million out of our budget. Okay, so then the last two potential, the 3%, the 2.4 million basis plus the 3%. The Appropriations Committee, the Legislative Appropriations Committee is working on the budget to submit back to the governor. And I had just learned last week that they had approved about 80 million for provider rate increases, a 3% next year and a 2% the following year, the biennium budget. So that will then increase. So then I put that in as a potential so you were aware of what your county match could be. We're planning on the second column because that's what we know right now as of today. But then the third column could be the 3% increase for next fiscal year to providers. That's in Medicaid, it's across the board. Behavioral health, all of I'm not sure about DD, I think it's DD too. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. There's many more hurdles to cross before we get to a final budget. I believe it's around the 80th day that they shoot for to have a final budget in place. We have a 90-day legislative session this year, but that's kind of where we're at in the process. Then the last column is that 3% that the Appropriations Committee just is putting in the budget to send back to the governor. And it's adding in that basis, that 10.3 million in Region 5's percentages, 2.4 million of the 10.3 million. So I wanted you to be aware that that's the potential. The last two are potential impacts to your county. The second sheet in your packet looks like this. This is the total of those. So the current year, York County's contribution is $44,000. Next year, we're anticipating, based on our preliminary budget that we received from the Division of Behavioral Health, the governor pulling out that 10.3, and that's what we're operating on right now is $35,000. Your contribution will go down. If the 3%, gets approved by the governor and the legislative body, and I just remind you, they overrode the governor on that 15% provider rate increase a couple of years ago. So I just don't know how this is going to go, and I'm trying to give you as much information as possible. The 3%, it'll go up to 36,366. That's that third column, which is still less than you're paying now. And then if they add the 10.3 million in, the 2.4 and the 3%, it'll go up to about 45,380, up from 44,058. Any questions on that for next fiscal year?
You will get us, we won't go off of this yet. You'll get us the corrected information.
I will give you the final numbers. Our fiscal director will, Tammy DeShawn, or her employees, we communicate with you. And I know every county bills a little, invoice a little differently. Some is like one time a year, some every quarter, some are once a year. So whatever you prefer is what we'll do. And we'll give you the final numbers as soon as we know.
The budgetary numbers that we'll need, obviously.
The final numbers as soon as we know. And the last day of the legislature, I believe, is June 9th. So I'm hopeful it'll be before then, but I just never know, okay?
All right.
I wanted to review just a few other things in your packet. This long sheet right here is by county across the top, and then the different array of services that we don't directly provide, we contract with a network of providers. There are crisis services, there are substance use services, and there are mental health services that are listed there. And if you go to your county, you can see the encounters. Those are not people, those are like people accessing the services. So you can see across the top there, mental health and substance, 39, substance use assessments, 36, and then crisis response was activated 22 times. So I bring up the crisis response for you because that is a service that is available to your law enforcement if they get a call that's a behavioral health call that someone is in distress. And I thought I saw a law enforcement officer in here earlier, but we work with them closely. I want to let you know we provide behavioral health threat assessment trainings for all the law enforcement entities across our 16 counties to help them understand what behavioral health is, what substance use is, how to engage with that. And then there is a mobile crisis team that will respond within hours if they call. So if they go out to my house, if I live in York and I'm having a crisis, someone calls on me in the community or something, law enforcement can knock. If they don't know what to do, all they have to do is pick up the phone and call the mobile crisis team. They'll come out, or they'll do a mobile, they'll do a phone and talk them through it. And it's to try to help them make a decision if they should take someone into emergency protective custody. There's that two-pronged kind of statute decision that they have to decide on. Is someone mentally ill? And then are they a danger to themselves or others? Those two have to be present for them to take them into emergency protective custody. Our goal is to have appropriate EPCs. So if someone really needs it, we want to have that occur, but we also have a diversion rate about 90%. So we're helping folks kind of get into services more voluntarily versus going through that legal system. So that's for your information. The next sheet that looks like this is just in relationship to
So before you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm looking at this, it says we had 306 contacts then, so
Total.
that's services that were provided for York County.
300 encounters. So that could be 306 people, or it could be
Experiences, you know,
Yeah,
it could be
yeah.
an incident with a sheriff's deputy,
could be
or it could be a student that is, got severe
mental health
issues
or
and they get
substance
daily. Now, is it by incident or is it by individual? So
incident. So if it's encounters, so like if I go 3 times, that would be 3
That's
times
3.
there. Yeah.
So then I just took this 44,000 and divided by 300, so we got $145 about in terms of incident costs. Is that how?
Well,
that's not exact. That's not probably a fair way to just
Right.
bracket things. But
Yeah, I mean,
on
it's
average.
it's a perspective, and I appreciate that perspective. There are lots of things that the region provides, and that is why I attached our annual report for you. And this is from fiscal year 21-22. But our scope is to provide prevention services to try to prevent, and let me talk about prevention here a little bit for York County. What they're focusing on in York County, we have a coalition in each one of the counties, and that's to get the grassroots from the local people that really understand what's going on in their county and what do they want to prioritize, not what our corporate office wants to prioritize, not what the legislature wants to prioritize, not what Health and Human Services wants to prioritize, but what the local individuals want to prioritize. And they are prioritizing underage drinking to try to prevent efforts towards that, vaping, marijuana use, social media risk factors, and promoting mental health promotion, like trying to reduce stigma in relationship to mental health conditions. They have evidence-based strategies that are going on in your county that is RAP teams, wellness recovery action plans, that they teach people, how to create a plan for themselves so they don't have to go to the hospital or call 911 or have the police come out. Wellness recovery action plan. Third millennium in schools. So that's to help the teachers in the school systems handle behavioral health, mental health conditions with youth. And then alcohol, marijuana education programs that are occurring. Second step in schools, communities mobilizing change, positive social norming campaigns, and prevention messages during youth events such as Red Ribbon Week, Red White Tailgate, and June Jam. Those are some of the activities that they do. I will not be able to tell you exactly what that all means, but I know we have a prevention director, Sandy Morrissey, who is highly engaged. We have a youth leadership board that she recruits youth from each one of the counties that are demonstrating leadership qualities in your county to sit on this and kind of help direct this within the communities. So then the other things that we do, Mr. Ziegler, is, so that's prevention efforts. Then we have housing coordinations. So we have housing vouchers that we offer to people who are highly at risk of being homeless or are at risk, and they have a mental health condition or substance use. And I'm not talking about where they're working and they have their own home and they're having an addiction problem, more severe. We serve the more severe, persistent mentally ill, severe substance use conditions, more of a public safety net. So when Medicaid doesn't pay and they don't have private insurance, and we kind of are there to kind of help guide and direct and get people engaged. So housing, the emergency system, we help coordinate that. You heard me talk a little bit about the behavioral health threat assessment trainings that we're doing. We're coordinating, we have a single point of entry of any law enforcement within the 15 counties, take someone in protective custody. They go to Lancaster County Crisis Center, and that is where they'll do a crisis stabilization assessment. There's Dr. Roy, who's a psychiatrist, Dr. Lizardo, who is a psychologist. There's social workers there, and they're working with the mental health board, and they're also working to either get it dropped or diverted or make recommendations in regards to their treatment. And then there's youth coordination activities we're doing as well, and I think that's the main components of the coordination components. If you look at this last report here, the Commissioner Pullman is the chair of our governing board right now, and there's just a letter from him and myself in relationship to some activities that went on. Our catchment area of the 16 counties, our statute responsibilities, then our fiscal, page 5. But then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, with Medicaid expansion that occurred October 1 of 2020, they raised the poverty level to 136%, so more individuals are available and eligible in Nebraska, or Nebraskans are eligible to be on Medicaid, which reduces the reliance on our services. So we have this kind of unique opportunity to redirect and assess what are the gaps and needs within the system, and what are those fragmentations that we can implement different services. This fiscal year, we redirected $2.3 million into different activities, and specifically for the rural counties, we did a request for proposal and a new contract with Goodwill, and they opened an office here in York to help people with supported employment. So that's people who have severe persistent mental illness and substance use issues, and if they want to work, all they gotta say is I want to work, and they'll start engaging them. What we know about work is it helps us feel productive and be good citizens, right? To kind of give back, it just feels good. Sometimes we work too much, but in general it feels good. So support employment was one of the things we expanded. Supported housing, we expanded that, and then recovery support and then navigator services in the rural. So the navigator services is, not only is there the mobile crisis response, where there's a mental health clinician that will help the law enforcement make this determination about mentally ill and dangerous to self or others. If they just go to the house and they know that it's not an emergency protective custody situation, but they can tell maybe my hygiene's bad or things are just out of sorts in my home, and they can tell I have a mental health condition, then they can refer to this navigator service, which is new, and we just started this, and they will go out within 24 hours and try to engage that person. And it's a person with lived experience that's living in recovery. They'll try to engage them and say, it doesn't have to be this bad. Let me help you. Let's get you engaged in services. And there are other things on here that were expanded, and all the counties can access all the services. And I wanted to just point out on page 9, we have, those are the providers that are members of the network, and any of the counties can access any of these services regardless of where they're located. We are bringing up an additional voluntary crisis stabilization unit and mental health respite that is being vetted by we have requests for proposals that went out, and it's being vetted by the team. And that is hopefully going to be brought up this next fiscal year. And then there's a family resource center. So for families to go, if they have problems with their youth, instead of going to the emergency room, waiting for 4 hours to get turned away and not admitted, they can go to this family resource center, which is a new project. There's county match dollars. Lancaster County is matching $2 million on the voluntary crisis center, and Lancaster County is matching up to $6 million on the family resource center. That'll be coming up this next year. Any questions? I said a lot, and I appreciate you listening to me. Any questions for me regarding the county match or kind of some of the activities that we're prioritizing?
No, it'll be interesting to see how the state's budget falls out, to figure out how ours, will align with that. And like I say, those times are coming. Our budget process will get started in May. But, obviously it's nowhere in completion. So if we have those numbers in June, then, it's gonna be fine.
We'll get them to you as soon as we have a final budget.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Patrick today?
I appreciate your time. Thanks for letting me come out.
You bet.
Talk to you. I'll be back next year.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Call me
Patrick.
if you need anything.
Yep. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay. Next up, we have a list of county surplus items. You have it there. It's such large print.
Got a lot of reading there.
So these are items that over time they get taken downstairs to our area outside of Cal's room and get dropped off. They're no more in use. And these are typically items that in the past we have done a little bit of like auction or whatever. We found that have somebody sit down there for 5 hours for $5 or whatever it was. So these, we will just need to deem these as county surplus, and then Cal can take the appropriate actions to get rid of.
Last year you did, talk to Blue Valley
Blue
to see
Valley.
if they wanted to come. I didn't know if that was an option this year, if you wanted to do that.
I think we can leave that up to Cal, that if he has some stuff that is in good shape and it can go that route, then that's a great place for it to go. Otherwise, I think a lot of it went into cop channels, hauled it away for us. So, but we just have to deem it as surplus so he can continue. Computer-wise, I know that we used to have somebody that took the hard drives out. I'm not sure if,
Josh done it, I know Don's done it.
but the hard drives will be pulled out of them and dispose of it in a proper way, so those don't leave without that happening. questions?
The, in the Veteran Service Office, we did surplus, oh, it's been a month ago or so. That one we took care of completely all at once and separate.
Okay, yeah, cause that was actually a new item that he sold.
No.
Yep.
I would make a motion that we deem said items county surplus.
Thank you. And have Cal.
And allow Cal to, dispose of as fit.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Baird.
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, next up is discuss an act on service agreement with G-Works. Kurt, I think that you had asked for this to be on there.
Morning again.
Good morning.
Kurt Waldron, York County Assessor. Since taking over the assessor's office in January, just kind of been looking at some of the tools that we use in order to provide our services to the people of York County, whether it be the taxpayers, people working here in the courthouse, realtors, bankers, whomever. One of those services is the G-Works, our mapping. I don't know how familiar you all are with our mapping system. It has several tabs on it that also include the election commissioner, the roads, I think zoning, assessor, and treasurer. So there's 5 different tabs on there. There's a couple tabs we don't use and therefore don't pay for. I think deeds is one, is that right, Kelly?
Yeah, we don't have anything on these.
Right, and then I think maybe there's weeds as well that we don't use on there, so I'll leave it. A couple years back, when I was sitting up there, it was brought to our attention that our G-Works system got messed up a little bit, and to the point where G-Works said in order to fix it, it would take a total rebuild of our septic system, and that was gonna run around $255,000 to fix that. They said they would be willing to break that out over a number of years. I think at one point they said 3 years specifically, so that would come up to about $85,000 for a year for 3 years in order to fix that. I went to convention last year, NACO convention, which I'd encourage you all to go to because you learn a lot more from other people sometimes than you do the state statutes. And one of my counterparts in another county said maybe you should get some other quotes from other map providers just to see what they do. He didn't know, I didn't know. So I'll hand those out now to you. At the top, you'll see is what G-Works provides us currently. So you see what G-Works provides currently. Assessor, treasurer, clerk, road zoning, basic tech support, annual subscription fee, and so on. I would note that if we were going to continue, whoever we continue with, whether it's G-Works, whether it's one of these other two, Sidwell or Surveying and Mapping LLC, where they go by Sam, I think we'd want them to do our parcel maintenance, so we don't do that in-house. We just tell them what we need done. Then they fix it. That way we don't run into this problem again where we're gonna be stuck with a big bill like this to fix everything. So I wanted to bring this to your guys' attention because I've been in your seat before. And when my predecessor told us about that big bill to fix that, I think she was a little apprehensive to bring it to us because that was a pretty staggering amount. And we just kind of didn't do anything with it. She didn't do anything with it. And here we are today and it's time to do something with it. So I got the other bids. as you can see, with Sidwell in their first year, and that would include fixing all the problems, is that'd just be a total rebuild for them. It would, their annual fees that first year would be $16,000. If you look at what we currently have with G-Works, and this is the period from 19 to 2023, it was $4,000 less than what we're currently spending with G-Works now. And if G-Works were to continue to do parcel maintenance, you would replace that 7,700 that's on the assessor column with 13,500 there. So I felt like I needed to show you guys this. So you're the ones that approve budgets. You're the stewards of the taxpayers' funds. We all are, but you're the ones that, bottom line, it comes to you guys. I would like us to move away from G-Works and go with either Sidwell or SAM. They are gonna do some demos tomorrow for people in the courthouse in this room here tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. If you guys wanna come by and see what they do. With the G-Works contract, however, though, I think we have to give them 60-day notice of termination. And I did ask the county attorney's office to look over the agreement as well. I did inform them that I would be bringing this to you guys. I felt that was the fair thing to do. However, I forgot to do that until yesterday. So they did send an email, and I'll give that to you as well. I feel like I need to share that with you about this topic. And I bring it up today because 60 days, their agreement for their current, what they offer right now, ends June 30th at the end of the fiscal year. You guys aren't gonna meet again before 60 days before that termination date. So that's why I'm here today. And just clarification too, talking with Janelle from G-Works, there's a contract with each office that has a tab on the G-Works website. So I didn't realize that till yesterday afternoon too, so I don't know, but I don't feel like I can enter into a contract with anyone as the assessor. I kind of feel like the only one authorized, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put you on the spot, Mr. Olson. The only one authorized to enter into an agreement or a contract on behalf of the county is the county board chair when authorized to do so by the board.
That is correct.
Is that correct? Okay. Then I would also assume that that board chair would also be authorized to opt out of the contract when authorized by said board, so.
Okay, so the email that I just read through, obviously they're stating their case, but they're not going away from the $255,000 cost. It's still gonna cost to rebuild.
Not to my knowledge.
I mean, because they're saying they would split it up over time.
Right.
To help the expense. And what you're saying is, we'll find out tomorrow for sure, but what you've looked into is that Sidwell and SAM provide similar products with similar mapping and similar details, in your opinion, at a much lower rate. Obviously, there's not the $255,000 to rebuild or even to build. It just is that mapping cost to begin with, right?
Correct.
Daniel?
Two questions. Like the treasurer clerk road zoning on Sidwell and SAM, A, do they provide that, and B, what would those costs be, do we know?
That's what's included here.
It is all included
Right.
in that cost.
What they do differently, they don't call them tabs per se, they call them layers.
Okay, yep.
And so they would just kind of, I think you just, kind of like click and decide what layers you want, kind of like on the clerk's tab right now, where you can overlay different.
You're right, correct, yep.
Governmental subdivisions in there. You could do the same thing here. Sidwell maybe even mentioned too, maybe, creating a site just for each of these offices, because once you start adding in all the layers that everyone has,
Sure.
you can get quite a few layers on there, especially like the roads, they have, gosh, every sign, every culvert, every bridge.
Right,
On that
yep.
site, which I found useful,
Mhm,
sitting up there. You know, we talked about bridge replacements and how old is a bridge, all that information's on there. And it's available to the public too.
Right.
Does this correlate GPS?
What's that
Does
again?
this correlate the GPS to the site? So 2206 Road 20 where I live, has it got a GPS location on this map that goes with that? Do you know?
I can verify that for you. I would imagine it would. I'm trying to think how it works right now. Right now we enter the information into our Canvas system, and then it just updates every night onto the G-Works. So whatever we enter into our system, that's what's on G-Works. To a certain extent, we do have, and this is one of our frustrations with G-Works too. There are examples of where we have marked things private in our Canvas system, our Vanguard system. Things like building permits. It's nice to have those building permits scanned and on each parcel or on each parcel card. But the public doesn't need to see that. That's just kind of an in-office use only. Granted, it's public information. If someone comes to my office and wants to see a building permit, we're going to show it to them. But we don't feel like we need to put it out there on the internet. Another item there too would be law enforcement. They can fill out a form to have their information blocked on the G-Works. Here, it's probably been 3 weeks since we notified G-Works that you can see these building permits that we have marked private on our system. You can see pictures of law enforcement homes that they filled out the forms to have that information marked private. We've marked it private in our Canvas system. It's still showing up on the G-Works site. It's been 3 weeks and it still hasn't been resolved. Even after we said, just take down all the pictures, just don't show a single darn thing, it's still showing up. That's kind of been one of our frustrations, is our service with them as well. So,
Okay, so we have, on the agenda is discuss an action on service agreement with G-Works. Obviously, we don't have it to, if we do discontinue with G-Works, to put somebody else on. Build out time, you know, I mean, our contract with them is through the end of our budget year, 6/30.
yes.
And, you know, obviously this gives us enough time if we decide to go that route to terminate that. But then what about build-up time for the new one if we decide to go whichever one?
Good question. I was wondering that too. I contacted both those companies and they both told me that they would be able to have something built and in place, ready to go.
7/1.
Right, it'd take a couple weeks. I think they send their proposals, like I said, forward those proposals on to you guys. I think maybe one said 8 weeks, but they said it wouldn't take that long. That's just the number they put in there. So we wouldn't necessarily be left hanging per se. And even if we were, we still update the old school cadastral maps hanging in the back office of the assessor's office there that we're required to have. That in case that were to not take place, we have that yet, so.
You know, any of the counties using these other?
Sure. Sidwell is in Holt County. And Sam does not have any counties as a client right now in Nebraska, but they do have some municipalities that they work with. And I can get those for you too.
Did you talk to the whole county about how they're getting along with them?
Yeah, he's had it for a couple years and he has no complaints with them. They also use Vanguard in Holt County like we do here in York County, and the two systems talk to each other very well. Eagle View is a flyover pictometry system. You guys were discussing ARPA money and everyone getting ARPA money. You failed to mention the assessor's office, but there's an example of something you can use ARPA money for. That's a return on your investment. The pictometry that they use also works very well with both Sidwell and Sam, and it works with G-Works as well. I don't want to say they don't, but they do. Their stuff does show up on there as well. But no, Sidwell's only in one county and Sam's not in any.
Cause there are 80 some counties that G-Works works with right now. And I wonder why they're not switching if it's a lot cheaper.
You know, this one company's name I got from an assessor in another county that said, I don't know why I haven't made the switch yet. And I think a lot of it's the cost. I think some of that, Commissioner Bear, is just you get comfortable getting a rut and get comfortable doing something a certain way. And, you know, like the G-Works, I'm comfortable on that. But sometimes you need to, you know, look at the black and white, look at the numbers there and make a determination. And it's not the company it used to be. It was, when it was first started, it was there to make money. Every company needs to make money or they're not gonna be able to operate. You know, it always makes me mad when they're just out there to make money. Well, yeah, everyone's got money, you know. But they did sell and then it came more about profits than it did about providing service.
And you know, Kurt had shared with me also, when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, they don't have a presence so much in Nebraska, but you can go to where they do have a presence, which is in Iowa and Missouri, and look at their product.
You're talking about?
Either one of these,
oh, okay.
Sidwell and Sam. So it's not like they're, you know, startup, they haven't been doing any county work. They are just not, like say, not here.
Right.
If you have something.
I get that, you know, G-Works hasn't been providing what we feel that maybe they should be. I mean, these other ones are still a savings, even where my question is, if G-Works were to lower and or waive the rebuild fees to keep our business, is that something that you would want to entertain? Or have you're just, I know there's frustrations with them as a whole, and so just kind of get your thoughts on that.
They're still gonna come in over these other two bids, especially if they do the parcel maintenance.
Right.
You know, you add another, $6,000 to that total bid there, and that's just their old agreement. And those numbers have been the same for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would anticipate them to go up just because, again, that's just inflation, you know, there's a cost of doing business. So I can't blame them for that. So I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying there.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
personally, I'm began the process of moving on and shutting that door with them, but you guys are the ones that make that decision, so.
Does the G-Works contract automatically renew for a year?
To my understanding, it does. I don't know if it's a year or if it's a 5-year term here.
Okay.
Like it says here.
Oh, right, yep.
And that's kind of the essence of getting this taken care of here now is, you know, but I think we could also mutually agree to sever ties, and so I don't know if this is something you guys aren't comfortable acting on today. Perhaps I kind of like you said, I don't want to get caught not being covered.
Right.
Or someone, I can't remember who said that, you know, I want to make sure we're covered and the public has access to the information they should have access to.
Yep.
So, and it's kind of a screwy contract too. When the county attorney's office looked over it, there's not many ways to get out of it. Probably the easiest way to get out of it is just not to pay them, and then they'll just stop providing the service. We don't want to really get in the habit of doing that.
Right.
So. Right, so.
Currently, there's 3 tabs on their site. I pulled it up that we are not using: emergency, deeds, and weeds. We do use the assessor of the roads, the planning and zoning, which planning and zoning is just a map, treasurer and clerk's office. The treasurer, not as much as, and did she, I know you had conversations with Megan.
Right. I had conversations with all these people. I have tabs right now, Kelly, Harvey, not so much zoning. sorry about that, Chris, wherever you were. Yeah, the treasurer felt, that they don't really utilize it a lot, and I don't want to put words in her mouth when she's not here, but.
Right.
She doesn't, I don't think her office utilizes that G-Works as much as like roads and we do and the court does. So, and then deeds, I know we've discussed deeds in the past, and that's, information's already online, so you've never felt the need of
We
doing
don't need
that.
it. We have Nebraska deeds online.
Right.
To do. The only concern I have is that we redistrict. I know that's every 10 years, but I know G-Works does that. I don't know what these other two, if they would do that for us. And, I know Secretary of State was working with G-Works to, cooperate with G-Works with our street files with elections. So if anything would change, it would just go right to our street files, and that would keep that up to date. So that's why I was wanting to listen to those other two. If they would do those projects, then those are the only two factors I had with them.
Okay.
And I guess, you wait 2 weeks, and Mr. Olson, correct me if I'm wrong, we wait 2 weeks, that takes us to the May second meeting, which I wouldn't be here for.
Too late.
It's too late, you'd be into July, so. Yeah.
The decision should be made going into May.
Yeah.
If the decision is to terminate, should be made. Because if we're gonna keep them, we're gonna keep them.
Correct,
And it just is but yeah, the decision to terminate should be made today. So we can get that letter.
Before May, so
That's
somewhere or
today.
another, either today or certainly before May.
Which is the last meeting.
Yeah.
Before May, so. And, Randy and I have talked too about, there's just more people, there's more people than just courthouse folks that utilize G-Works. There's the bankers and the realtors and the title companies. Whichever direction we go, should we decide to use a new mapping vendor, and we'd certainly, whoever that is, we'd ask them to come in and have some training with the industries in our county that do use that, just so they can be ready to go with it too.
Would they have to change too if we do, or could they stay with G-Works?
Who's that?
The banks.
No, they just rely on what we put out there.
Oh.
So yeah, they don't have their own contracts with G-Works,
Okay.
those other people. They utilize the service that we have, yeah. So I think it's only fair to offer them some training on how to use it as well too.
I got it.
Daniel had to step away for a minute. He'll be back here directly, but, personally, yeah, I know that they're in a lot of counties. I know that I've jumped on different counties just to look around, and it is familiar. But I had also took the opportunity to go over and jump on the one in Iowa and look through that, and the information's there. It's just a matter of getting used to that information. And then when we look at the cost savings, it's huge, to the taxpayers. So we're, looking at $250,000 that we're able to save. This is real money.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't for that remediation project, that $250,000, if those other ones came in well over G-Works, I wouldn't even be sitting here today. But since there are options that cost less than what we currently have, with or without that $255,000, I feel like you guys should know that.
With those other two companies, would they have the other tabs, like the leads tab, or they would just continue with what we have?
They would have like the layers, they would have like a tab specific to each office. So you would go to a tool over here and you would bring up whatever layer you want to put on the map.
Okay.
So like commissioner districts or school districts, bridges, culverts, things like that. Zoning jurisdictions, I find that helpful too, when someone calls our office wanting to do something, we would direct them upstairs or direct them to City Hall to get their building permits then, so.
Any other comment this morning regarding this, guys?
And like I said, they'll both be in town tomorrow in this room here. I think Sam is at 10:30 and Sidwell's at 1:30. If you guys would like to come in and see what they have to offer. I extended invites to the clerk's office, roads, to whomever they want in their offices to see how it works. I know you guys are busy too. You have your own lives, so. What's that? Sam, I believe, is out of Missouri. Sidwell, I'm not sure where they're out of. I know they're, the guy I've been talking to with them, he's from Wisconsin, but I don't know if Sidwell's out of Wisconsin. In this day and age, you can be headquartered anywhere and have your sales rep, work in any county. And again, it's just, the tools that we,
Oh, you did.
that we provide the public.
I just didn't know if they did those.
Daniel, do you have any other questions, comments?
I'm a little nervous to cancel the contract before having a solution, knowing what our next solution is. Have you, and maybe we covered this, but the other tabs of like Sidwell and Sam, have you played around with any of those as far as like looking at the roads, the treasures, sides of those?
Not too terribly much, it is kind of a focused, on my
Right,
own
sure.
wheelhouse there, so. And like I was telling Kelly before, it's not necessarily they wouldn't have their own tabs, it would just be the layers that you have.
Sure,
So you pick and choose what you want. And according to both, the information we have on G-Works doesn't belong to G-Works, it belongs to us.
Sure,
So they'd be able to take that information, like what you have and what the roads department has, and transfer that over.
Sure.
To the new mapping.
Yep. And so like on your side, as far as like building out these new sites, they could just take from your Canvas system and it would just be seamless. There's probably a fair bit of work behind the scenes, but.
Yeah, and there's some work, and that's where you see like with Sidwell, they have their first year, the cadastral map spatial, adjustment services, that's $20 an hour. They didn't anticipate any work being done in the second year, so they didn't have a quote for the second year on that.
I see, sure. Yeah.
So yeah, there's obviously some build-up work that you need to do, or needs to be done. And both the other two options that I have, they, like I said, they both work well with our current Canvas system. So that wouldn't be an issue either, so.
Well, since we have a new assessor, it's probably a good time to change.
I wouldn't disagree with this, Commissioner. But yeah, I mean, and I'm not doing it just for the, when I was first setting up there, another elected official told me one time in our county that just doing something just for the sake of, we've always done it that way, maybe isn't necessarily the best way to do business. So, and G-Works they provided a good product for us over the years, but I think it's time to
move
on and like I said, if the prices, if that cost, that just kind of really stuck out to me, I just felt like I had to bring it to you guys.
Kurt, could you tell me again, what is the cost savings that you were just mentioning earlier?
Sure, if you take out that $255,000 for the total rebuild for G-Works, for all of our tabs on G-Works through this current contract, it's $20,000, roughly almost 21. Just Sidwell in their first year alone would be 16,000, roughly. And then the SAM Surveying and Mapping LLC, it's the 7,500 and the 4,800, and then you have the parcel maintenance not to exceed 12,000 annually. $100 an hour, not to exceed $12,000 annually.
that sounds like a substantial savings.
I know of one county, they don't even have like a hard copy cadastral map anymore, they just have electronic map. There's a lot of counties that are not comfortable with that, but they're inching that way. I've talked about going paperless in our office, and the staff tells me to get out of here, but it's just the way we're moving in society, so.
Okay, any other?
I guess if you're looking for a recommendation, I would recommend that we terminate all contracts with G-Works effective June 30, 2023.
And that needs to be in writing and signed by chairman,
Sure. That'd be good.
I would assume.
I would, yeah, it should be.
If that's a motion, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion, guys?
Do we, let's see, have you seen enough of Sidwell and Sam, to feel that you're gonna be comfortable with one of those two options?
I do. Yeah, they've always been, granted, they're talk to sales, so they're salespeople are gonna be salespeople, but also I feel like they've been really good about getting me the information I ask them, and so and like I've heard other counties say, why haven't we done this yet? So it's not that we need to do everything other counties do.
That's right.
Stewart County jumped off a cliff, I don't know that we necessarily would have to.
Oh, we would.
Oh, yeah, we would.
Do you, I know we're in a bit of a time crunch, as far as the contract renewing, is there any, being that they put forth a 5-year contract, like, to give us more time, is there any worth going to them and seeing if they'd extend it through the end of the year or anything like that, or not necessarily?
I did ask for new numbers.
Okay.
For each tab. I haven't gotten anything back yet. Felt to be fair, if I got bids from other companies, I should get another bid from them.
Sure.
All I got was the
email.
The email about the, well, no, the email about the $250,000 repair.
Right.
So.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Do you have any other questions that you want answered?
Not at this time, I guess. I'm still leery of canceling a contract without knowing exactly what we're gonna do next, but.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say, Daniel, it's probably, if this board agrees to, it'd be Sidwell or Survey and Mapping LLC, because it's the bids we got. We need to have something, I agree, we need to have something in place.
Sure.
And I could certainly forward those proposals to you guys with examples of the websites that they, of mapping services they provide to other counties and other states. And like I said, they'll be both here tomorrow as well. So I don't know, as far as you guys all being here.
This will be, I would assume that this will be on the agenda May 2nd.
Well, I will not be here May 2nd.
Okay.
If you would like it to be on the agenda May 2nd, we could certainly do that. But
you're just gone that week, right?
I'm gone.
You'll be able to sit in on tomorrow.
Certainly.
And then give recommendations from there.
Yep. I'll be out of town on training for assessor stuff I gotta do, so.
I just mean that you obviously, if the vote goes away to terminate, then we want to give the appropriate amount of time to whoever the new one is to get things done.
Absolutely, so it's ready to go July 1st.
Rather than waiting till the middle of May and then making the decision, and then they get into a little bit of time crunch themselves.
I'd agree.
And we're 2 weeks out to the May 2nd date to set the new contract. But if you give us a recommendation, you can give them a heads up and say, start thinking, or is that?
Well, he could give us a recommendation of who he'd recommend. We could put it on the agenda to go whichever way.
And then you let me know that day and then I'll reach out to them.
Because these are the proposals that we have in front of us. Those
Print those out.
are firm numbers, right?
Yes, those are the proposals they gave me.
Yes.
So, and I'll get, like I said, I'll email those to the rest of you guys.
Okay. Any other questions?
And my apologies, I guess I probably should have
This-
done that before this.
So we do have the motion and a second to terminate
Contracts
with
with G-Works.
G-Works.
For June 2023.
Okay. Roll call.
Sykes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Abstain.
Ziegler,
Yes.
and Overmark.
Yes. Okay, we'll move forward. Times again tomorrow. You'll send that out.
I'll send that out to you.
Thank you.
Email them to you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
And Dan.
Did I do not believe I forgot anything. Do you see anything I forgot? I got everything checked off, other than obviously committee reports.
And on the fee reports, I never had the sheriff's report, but it was brought to us this morning, so I do have that if anybody wants to look at it.
Okay, all right. So we are up to the committee reports. This has been a nice, long meeting. Who wants to go first? Dan, would you like to go first?
Well, the only committee meeting I went to was this morning with Harv. And we talked about the same issues we talked about here today. Talked quite a bit about the paving part. And I think we need to go forward and, like I said earlier, and go with that, and he give us some other options. I asked him about the procedure, when does a road get gravelled? What it is that he goes by, and he goes by the maintainer's recommendations. Maintainer men give him recommendations, roads need gravel, and he checks it out, and between the two of them, they decide which roads need gravel and so on. So some of the questions I had, there were some other questions I had of him, and he answered them all very satisfactorily. So that's the only committee I went to this last 2 weeks.
Okay. Daniel?
Not a whole lot going on these last couple of weeks. I did have a telephone call with a gal from the Center for Rural Affairs. Mainly they were just wanting to see what was going on in the county. We talked about zoning and some of the things there, and it was a good discussion. Nothing, I guess, that was provided other than just a good discussion, and they wanted to get a feel for what was happening in York County.
Okay. Jack, do you have anything?
Well, I haven't been to any meetings except the York General Hospital.
Yeah, it's a good meeting.
And I will say that York County Ambulance does a fine job.
Okay.
That's all I
All
have.
right, Woody?
Did you get the bill yet?
No.
They do a fine job, I agree. I went to the York County Republicans meeting and had a wonderful presentation on founding fathers and religion representation that's in the Capitol proper, Washington DC, so that was very interesting. Also went to the epic option tax presentation yesterday out at the 4-H facility. Otherwise, no county committees.
Okay, Kelly and myself will be working on our ARPA reporting that we need to get taken care of this week. And sometime in there, we need to finish up our as per our audit, we have to finish up some action plans. They're pretty much all done. We just have to get that done this week too. So there's a couple things that we have to have done. Kelly, myself, and Cheryl attended a NERMA conference, Cheryl Whiteside, in NERMA conference in Lincoln last Friday, and basically about employee management. And it went from building culture and all this down to the last part of the day was discharge. And, so when Pam and Ashley put on the seminar, it's usually pretty interesting. And, so I think Cheryl got a lot of good out of it. And, I'm sorry, Lori from Aging Services was there also. So we was, well represented in that one. So that went well. I do have visitors tomorrow morning. There's gonna be some more grant applications that will be come forward. I will put on the agenda for next meeting. I know that we've talked, Daniel and myself talked with Zell HR. The clerk's office pleas have not gone unheard. We heard another one again today. We'll go ahead and put that on the agenda for May 2nd. Cheryl is holding her own, but she really needs a lot of help, and we need to do it. There were some questions with their contract, and I think as long as we can get their contract negotiated to the terms that we want, I think it'll be a good avenue for us to at least start with. We're just at that size of the county that having a bona fide HR person on hand is, maybe it is too much, maybe it isn't, but at least with them, we could get a good idea of just exactly where we stand, maybe gain some more knowledge. NERMA does provide the hotline that we do utilize, and Pam and Ashley, I think, are the main ones that answer that, so that's there for us. But I think that, like I say, if we can negotiate, Zell seemed gung-ho and eager, and maybe they are gonna be the best route for us. So, once again, I'll get that put on there. We will have a meeting Monday night. Our zoning has a meeting Monday night at 6 o'clock at Holtus, and that is a public meeting, not a public hearing. The guys have been working, I know that the little bit of conversations I had with them, they've been looking at others, and hopefully that working meeting, they can come up with some information and some ideas. So that, once again, is at the Holtus at 6 p.m. Monday night, and we will keep working on that. That way we can get that done. Even though she left the room this morning, I don't know if everybody's aware or not, typically Melanie has a place right up front here. Melanie was in the paper this morning as receiving an outstanding award for working at the News Times. Melanie was terminated from the News Times Friday morning, so she is no longer a News Times employee. We've got to work with her for years. She does a good job covering us. She felt like she didn't know if she wanted to come. She didn't want to miss out on what we continue to do. There's things at the courthouse that she's been a part of. We will miss that aspect of her. We wish her well in her future endeavors. And then, and who knows, maybe she can do a little freelancing or something for us, because our story needs to get out. We need to be able to tell our story at some time too. And if nobody's here, I don't know, for those of you that weren't here, which is everybody, me and Jack, we used to have two people here. We used to have the KWL was here covering us, and the News Times were here covering us. And now, unfortunately, we got nobody covering us. So I don't know if there's gonna be some opportunities for us in the future, but we do wish Melanie well. She was in my office yesterday, and yeah, it was a tough blow for her, especially when you see the article in today's paper that you get an award for being an outstanding reporter. So it was just unfortunate. So that did happen. Do you have anything to add? Cal's continuing to do some construction project. I believe the county attorney's office is kind of in somewhat shambles right now.
It is.
But he's working forward. I haven't slipped up there. He's working forward to get that done too. I'm sure there's been multiple phone calls. I spent yesterday morning on the phone with an attorney right away in the morning, so there's a lot of stuff that's happened. I don't necessarily have anything to pinpoint that's good or bad. Oh, I almost forgot. We did have our awards banquet for our employees.
Yeah, we did.
And
What's that here?
You're probably in the hospital.
So in the corrections, we had Pam Garcia, which received a 5-year award. In the sheriff's office, we had Dustin Cullen, 5-year, Corey Goplin, 5-year, and Brad Melby has spent 30 years with the York County Sheriff's Department. In the roads department, we had Doug Craddock at 5 years, Terry Paulson at 10 years, and Herb Idy at 20 years. And the major one that we had this year was Sherilyn Stubbe, which is the clerk of the district court. She has celebrated 35 years with York County. I did send out an email that Kelly forwarded, and if there's anybody we missed, we sure hope we haven't missed. Cal Friesen was 5-year also. That we want to make sure we recognize them for their contribution to York County. Okay. Anything else? Who knows? You have anything else? Nothing. The clerk is sneaking out on us next week, so that's why we gotta get everything done this week.
I did stop out at Thayer when they were doing that mastic and filling in cracks. And it was quite an interesting process. And there were 5 of them there and they were working hard. It wasn't 3 guys standing around leaning on a shovel. We were working, so that was encouraging to see too.
It's really exposed, in my opinion, like the Country Club app. Without that mastic and tar in there, you didn't realize how bad it was until you see them fill all the cracks, and it's like, wow, things falling apart.
That's what I was telling Harvey. I said, I've been here earlier, but the crazy Thayer road was closed down again. You know, they're filling in the cracks, trying to make it be a smoother road too.
Nothing else? We stand adjourned.